All right. Welcome to the PDA. That's Positively Disagreeable Podcast coming at you. Sent out a lot of invitations this weekend. Had some interest coming back at me, so I hope that there's some people listening today. If so, we apologize for the late start. Had some changes going on here at the PDA podcast. Nothing to worry about, but it took a little bit of time to get organized and get started. That's on us. I'm hoping that as the weeks go by, we will get better and better at starting at 3 o'clock, but you guys can be the judges on that. So, anyways, for anybody who's out there, hopefully listening, we appreciate you tuning in today. We're excited to hopefully have some listeners out there today, show you what it's all about. And of course, we hopefully have some people listening in on the podcast a little time from now once we get that out there. So we're excited about it, and we hope you guys are excited about it. I'm Adam. I'm the host, hostess with the mostest, although I'm sure I've stole that from about a billion other people who've hosted. And we got Victor here. If y'all are seeing it the way I'm seeing it, to my left. I don't know how you guys are seeing it on one side of me. And then we have my boy Dot hanging out at the bottom. That's it. That's it. Our friend Chris, I think is going to. You'll see him. He's not gone. No disagreements here with the PDA podcast. I think he's got a little bit of some scheduling issues. Might not be able to be on the show on a weekly basis, but is a big friend of the show and somebody that helped us get this started. He is interested in coming on when he has time to do it, and we are more than happy to have him on when he has time to. So it's not the last you're going to see of him, but it is the reason why you're not seeing him today. So sorry about that. And I know the ladies love the beard, so we'll try to bring it back as often as we can. uh, but yeah, so that's that. So anyways, getting the show started off today for anybody who hasn't seen anything yet. Really simple. I try to tell everybody at the beginning of the show, if you don't like listening to people talk about things you don't agree with, this is not the show for you guys. We are by format going to be disagreeing with you because we ideally pick topics each day that we don't agree with each other on, so that we can healthfully debate each other on those topics, show everybody that you can do that and that it's important to do that. So hopefully you're not one of those people. If you're right on the edge and you're not sure, listen for a while. Hopefully we can change your mind. But anyways, today we're gonna have our three topics, which is how the format of the show is typically going to be. And then the last thing that we do is we talk about a TV show or a movie that we picked from the week before to let things cool off and get a little bit more light sided before we end the show. So today. We're gonna start the show off with my man Eminem. So this was just so anybody is confused. This was one of the topics I put in the bowl. Very excited. We're gonna be talking about it. I'm a huge lover of hip hop and rap and R&B, and Eminem has always been one of my favorites. His just amazing, his wordplay, the things that he can make rhyme that shouldn't rhyme. I love the guy, I always have. And so the topic for today is he back? I'm going to start it off normally. We all get a couple of minutes at the beginning of the show to talk before anybody's interrupted. Again, for people that haven't watched before, normally I'm the last one to go. But since this was my topic and this is my boy, I'm going to be the first one to go. So, anyways, is Eminem back as an artist? Obviously, he hasn't technically gone anywhere, but I think it would be hard to suggest that he's been a very relevant force in the rap community for a long time. And so, is he back? I think he is. I mean, obviously, I can't decide for the rest of the rap listening world whether they're going to start paying attention to the guy or not. But I mean, the stuff he is putting out there is quintessential Eminem. The raps are insanely talented. The rhyming is just as good as it's always been. He's kind of got that edge back to him, I think, that he lost, which I think might be the reason why people stop paying attention to him, which in his defense happens all the time. I mean, when a lot of these guys first get their break, they're hungry, right? They're broke, they've been busting their butts their whole lives and not getting anything for it, right? And they have that gritty mentality that comes from that lifestyle, and that I think, especially in the United States, is what we love in rappers. Like that's what we, right or wrong, tend to latch onto, is that feeling, and then you get a ton of success and make millions of dollars and buy a mansion and start flying in private planes. It's hard to maintain the grit when there is no grit around you anymore. Eminem, on top of all of that, got sober, which I mean, it's got to be a huge change, right? How is it not going to impact an artist and the stuff that they put out, right? So I completely understand what happened to the man. And as much as I missed his music, I gotta say, if you'd asked me, like, if I'd have picked between a guy getting a chance to get sober and live a happier, cleaner life, and me not getting to listen to as much good music, I mean, it's hard for me to say that I wish he would have kept popping Vicodin and putting out good CDs. You know what I mean? Like, so I support what he did, but I've missed him like tirelessly. Like his music is so damn good, and it's been sad that it's not been, out there. And the last couple of stuff that I've heard, at least, God, I can't believe I don't have the names. But there's the new one that he does where the kid from Sandlot is the dude that plays him in the video. That is like gold, dude. Like, oh my God, there's a brilliant freaking video for starters, and then the rapping by both of them are fucking amazing, dude. Those dudes go off on that shit. That was a great song. And then there's the other song out that he has about COVID, which is, like kind of quintessential him. It's like a little edgy. It's funny. It's like takes a really serious topic and makes a joke out of it, which is, a song, a version he has on every album, right? And this is definitely that song again. But he did it really well. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I know I've been on a little bit more than 2 minutes, but I'm the host, so I can do that. But the last thing I'm just going to say real quick is that, like, I'm a huge fan of Eminem, and I'm not going to lie and say that he didn't fall off. I mean, he fell off, right? Like, his music wasn't good. I stopped listening to it, and I love the dude, right? I'm sure there were still people listening to it. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not – when I say – his music's back, I'm saying it as somebody who agrees that it went away. Like, for sure, he was not putting out good music for a while, but I think people give him a chance again, some good shit coming out. That's my 8 minutes. Victor, what you got for me, man?
No, I didn't. I tried to listen to most of his last album that came out. I didn't get all the way through it, but it's good. It's not bad. I mean, it's good, but I think Eminem could put out like a load of crap and put his name on it, and it's still gonna sell the same amount of records. You know, I mean, that's not actually true because one of the last albums, what was it, Revival? I think it did pretty crappy and it didn't sound like him. It was just like a completely different one, which is kind of sad because that was actually more, I think, true because it was like a sadder album. It wasn't an angry album. It was more like a sadder album because that's what he was going through. It was more true to him. And the stuff now is, it's like following the formula. It's like he has a formula. He like put together a formula with his first 3-4 albums, and stuff now just seems like it's following the album. It's following the formula, and that's what he put out. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. The man's a freaking genius. He's a lyrical genius, and he can do that. It's just not his first album was so well. Also, that's hard. It's a hard stage to start off with. I mean, he put out some ridiculous albums that like pushed the limits and made people like stop and say what, you know, and I just don't see the same from him. But it's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's great. It's great. It's Eminem, but I don't know. Watch the movie. Go ahead.
All right, that'll work. Dot, what you got?
He said, "Watch the movie." um, I uh, I have no words. I liked. I guess you could say I accepted his first album, or what may have been his first album. Um, I understand what he's doing. I don't take away from what he's doing.
Never been your
I
cup of
do.
tea to begin with.
Well, I mean, it's not that it's not my cup of tea. Uh, I'm just I don't look forward to an Eminem record or an Eminem album. It's not something I will listen to an Eminem record like, oh, okay, uh, he's done his thing lyrically that fit the time frame of when those albums came out, and I think one of the things that may have been a factor was the initial albums. The air was different, so it gave the content to this is a day and age that things aren't the same, and the I don't see it as relevance, whatever he's doing now. But then again, I don't see a lot of things as relevant to now because everything is on autopilot. I,
Yeah.
I I was honestly like I'm more of an Andre 3000. Uh, you
Yeah, I
know,
get it. I mean, I totally get what you're saying because there's been unbelievably talented artists that they're just it just doesn't speak to me, and I listen to it. It's like I get why everybody likes it. The person's obviously unbelievably talented. Like I'm not gonna sit
right,
here and say just because I don't like it they suck. They obviously don't suck, and I'm even questioning whether to throw some of the names out here because people are just gonna think that I don't listen to hip hop music when I start saying
right,
some of the
right,
names that just um didn't speak to me, and also like big artists like Jay-Z. I love Jay-Z. Like he'll put out a song that just makes me go bananas, but like I'm not a person that goes and listens to his whole CD. Like he puts out a CD and there's
right,
normally like two or three songs that I like on it, and obviously the world completely disagrees with me on that, and I get it because when I listen to the other songs, it's like it's obviously good. The guy's brilliant. It just isn't something that makes me get excited when I hear it for whatever reason, right? It's
right,
just
right.
not my cup of tea. So I get it. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. Um, and was there anything else? I don't want to interrupt your 2 minutes.
I
Would you?
I no, you're good. I don't know. I Eminem or Marshall Mathers, because aren't those two different entities, right?
Yeah,
Right.
As far
yeah.
as music wise. So yeah. I don't take away because I've jammed out to a couple records you've had back in the day. You know, the movie was a great film.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it was even better than the
I
50 Cent
just
version.
the 50 Cent. Which one? What do you mean?
I
He made
mean,
another.
it was like they were two different life stories, but they were the same movie about two different people. You know what I mean? Like, kind of, in
Which
my
one?
opinion. Uh, Get
Which
Rich. No,
which?
Yeah, Get Rich or Die
is it
Trying.
Get Rich or Die? His life
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Oh,
I think it was kind of his first movie, right?
Yeah.
I
You're
don't think
right
that
because
was
he
his.
acts
I
a
don't think
lot
that was
now.
his life story though. I think that
It
was more
was.
just a story he named after the album to kind of play
I thought it
on.
was. I thought
Nah,
not
I
like
don't
a
think
hundred
so.
percent, but like him getting shot and him selling. Like it was like
Yeah. Like key
a
points
spin
he
off
put
of his
into
story.
a film, but I don't think that. I don't
It
think that it
certainly
was
wasn't 100%.
Eminem.
Yeah,
More
yeah,
the Eminem's film is more so along the lines
I
of a
agree.
biopic
Right. Even
versus
his wasn't exactly accurate, but yes,
right,
Yeah.
yeah, but
yeah,
it
I
was more
agree.
along the lines of a biopic versus Get Rich or Die Trying. I think what with that 50 Cent was like he because I was a key pointer in his the wave that he was on. Get Rich or Die Trying, him getting shot, the New York gangster, the love story. He kind of gave into some
Yeah,
personal aspects, but I think the Eminem biopic was actually a really good film.
yeah, I agree. I liked it.
I just I think that I I just maybe the relevance of life is not. I don't have that same path,
Right.
so I try like with a lot of music. Um, I'll accept it for like the pop version or the mainstream marketed version, but like I said, I mean even with Jay Z, I couldn't like tell you Jay Z. I know the Jay Z albums. I don't think I've listened to one in its entirety.
Right.
But I kind of have the same. I'll listen to a Jay Z record. I'm not the most knowledgeable on Jay Z. I'm more so of an Outkast fan.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
Right. I'm with you. Like, I
those are
get it.
those. But yeah, Eminem. I like the fact that he's continuing to contribute to music uh, that will inspire people.
yeah.
And that's always a good thing.
Right. I
As
mean, I
long as he's
think.
inspiring
Sorry.
people.
Go ahead.
No, you good. Go ahead, run it.
So I mean, I think y'all both hit on something that I think is true. That's not going to ever be true today, but it's kind of the truth with a lot of artists, right? I mean, which is that when they break out by finding a niche that nobody's really filled before. Not always, right? But a lot of artists that we really look at and give a lot of accolades to are fill a void that isn't been filled before, right? He was
Right.
kind of the first white rapper that was really taken serious, and he did it not by doing what a lot of white rappers had done before, which is try to do what black rappers are doing. But as a white person, he said, screw all that. I'm going to talk about my crazy, backwards, trailer park, white world, right? And I'm going to do it with really good lyrics and badass beats by Dr. Dre, right?
Yeah.
And well, I think one of the reasons he was so successful is he, like you said, was he like he like I'm blanking on the word, but I mean he like put out a type of music that people could relate to that didn't have a type of music that they could relate to prior to that, right? Like a lot of young white kids growing up tough who loved hip hop music who were never represented by that category of music very well. In fact, often are made fun of, right? Let's be honest, by a lot of the artists that they love so much. And now they had an artist that was like looked like them and didn't like try to be something else, like tried to be exactly them, right? Some crazy white guy who nobody quite understands and is a little fucked up in the head. And there's a lot of people out there like that, right? And so now they had like an anthem to their life, which is probably why the guy sold billions of records in the first place. And I agree that I don't know that that's going to be really easy to tap back into nowadays. It is, the world is a lot different, but good artists, right, get their break that way maybe, but then can just continue to put out good music after that still speaks to people, that is still really talented, and so that you want to listen to it. When I look at some of the albums that he put out after his last like really good album that everybody really liked and that sold tons of records, and to Victor's point, I mean, you're right, he's Eminem. He's not going to put out a record and not sell anything, because he could wipe his ass on an MP3 and people would buy it, right? He's Eminem. So he's got a fan base
Right.
that's always going to support anything that he does. But he wasn't the Eminem that he was. And no, I don't think he's going to come back and tap back into that, angry white youth, thing that he tapped into the last time. But I think he can still be edgy and he can still put out music. I mean, I think that's what kind of, in my opinion, was missing from the stuff that he did between now and then and now, which is that I agree with you. Like, I think he was putting out music for based on what he was going, like, as from just an artistic standpoint, like it totally made sense based on what he was going through and getting his life clean and how emotional and crazy and all the stuff he must have been dealing with in order to accomplish that, which, not that anybody's listening, but props to the guy for doing it, because I'm sure he had some serious demons to deal with in order to get to where he is now. And I hope he did. And I hope he's like a happier, person. I mean, the dude's rich as hell and could do anything he wants. It would kind of suck to have all that money and success and just be too angry to enjoy any of it. And so hopefully he's in a better place. But it feels like maybe he's kind of gotten through all of that and can get back to a degree to what we fell in love with in the first place, which is edgier and a little crazier, and then just like even because I would say even with a lot of the stuff in between, it's not like it was lyrically bad, but it wasn't as lyrically challenging as his stuff where he's just like spitting super fast and putting words together that you're like got to rewind and listen to it again because you're like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to rhyme. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, how did he get what? You know what I mean? Or he makes he makes punchlines that like you only kind of get the first time you hear it, and then you got to go back and you're like, oh shit, like that's the Eminem that I love, and I feel like he's given us again. And so, yeah, I mean, look, when some of those first albums came out, I was younger and angrier, and it appealed to me more than it's going to now. Nevertheless, like, well, dude, the two that I listened to, like, the whole time I was just like, oh shit. Like, I mean, it just felt really good listening to him do what he does best again. And a lot of musicians, I don't know if it's mistakenly. I mean, it's their music, right? They get to do whatever they want, right? But a lot of them end up making music that like is like, this is just something I have to make based on what I'm going through right now, and it's for me. And more often than not, when they make something that's for them, none of us want to hear it. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a sad truth. Sometimes it works. But more often than not, it's like, yeah, if it was for you, you just shouldn't have released that shit. You should have kept it for yourself. And then when you got through all that shit, make some music for us again. Cause that's what, we don't, yeah, anyways. But I feel like he's making music for us again. And I agree that he has a formula, but I do think it is a little bit different than what it was before. And I think he's maybe kind of finding like a perfect little mixture of giving them what they like, despite the fact that things are different. And I can't literally do exactly what I did before when I had all that success. And good on him for continuing. I mean, the dude's got to be worth $1 billion. I mean, not $1 billion. The dude's got to have tons of money. He could easily just be like, you guys don't like my music anymore? Fuck y'all. I'm going to go live on a beach and, have sex with fine women. Like, he could do that. And why shouldn't he? Right. And instead, he's still putting out music because that's what he loves to do. And I think he has had some success on these last few tracks that he's putting out, and I hope he continues to build, and I hope we're talking about him again, because I think the rap community is lesser not having him in it. I know that there's some good white rappers that have filled the void a little bit, even the dude that's on the record with him. I always blank out on that guy's name.
Not Future, it's something else. What is it?
No, crap. I feel really bad too because the dude's amazing. He doesn't deserve to have me blanking out on his name. What's the guy's name?
On the Eminem record?
The one where they have the two guys filling in for them.
Is it Logic?
Logic, yeah. He's amazing too. Like he is Eminem-esque. I don't think he's ever quite had that like burning anger that made me love Eminem so much in the first place. Like he's really calm in comparison. But the dude's amazing. Like he can rap his ass off, and he like the same thing. Like some of the rhymes that he puts together and the hidden little like punchlines that he puts in. I mean, the dude can rap his ass off. It was really good seeing them do it together. It made for a damn good song. And that video,
Sir Robert Bryson Hall.
What's that?
Logic.
That's his real name?
Yeah.
Anybody? Somebody look up the name of the video that we're talking about, the song that's got them both in it, because anybody who's listening, like the 4 people out there, y'all got if y'all haven't watched this video, I mean it's fucking brilliant. Like the whole thing is Logic talking about how him and Eminem are gonna do something. What is it?
Homicide? No.
What is it?
Homicide.
Homicide. Okay. They're gonna do a song together, but
Yeah.
because of COVID, they can't get together to do the video, right? And so his manager or somebody is telling him how it's going to be fine because they've got the actors to fill in for him. And Logic's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, no, it's cool. Check it out. And so they start by showing him the guy that's going to play him. And it's the dude from the Sandlot, the little skinny dude with the glasses, and which all on its own is fucking hilarious. But now as an adult, he looks a lot like the guy, which makes it so much better, you know. And then he like the guy's like, yeah, let me show you real quick what I can do, and he's like doing the dude's verse, and he kills it too. The little dorky kid from Sandlot's like murdering his shit. It's fucking awesome. And then he's like, so you're telling me the little skinny dude from Sandlot and Eminem are gonna? He's like, no. Eminem's getting a guy to fill in for him too. Here, check it out. And then they show Eminem's guy. Dude, it's so fucking funny. Like, it's so much better than them just doing the video that they're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of doing a video about them doing the video was fucking genius. And the song is fucking amazing. Like, it's you gotta, if you haven't seen it, it's fucking awesome. I love that shit.
Drake do that with Justin Bieber?
They did a video where somebody else acted for him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've
Drake,
never been a Justin Bieber fan, and you know, Drake would be another example of something everybody but me loves.
Justin
And again,
I mean, I'm a Pusha T fan.
Huh?
Okay.
No, I mean, the dude again,
I'm a
like
Pusha T fan.
yeah.
I mean, Drake has impacted the music community phenomenally.
The dude's amazing.
From him.
I'm not knocking I'm not saying he's not good. Just like I'm not saying Jay-Z's not good or Lil Wayne's not good. And all of them, including Drake, have put out songs that I'm like, oh shit, when the song comes on, and I love the fucking song and it's amazing. But there are other stuff that again is obviously talented. It just isn't like I don't put it on and go, oh shit, I gotta hear this, you know?
Right.
That's just me.
Yeah.
It's not them. I'm not knocking any of those people.
Yeah,
and obviously I'd be a moron to do so.
Yeah, I couldn't do Cash Money Millionaires. I tried, couldn't do it.
Cash Money taking over for the 9-9.
Yeah, but see, same thing. Like, I feel the same way, except that they always put out a couple of songs a year. That when that song came on, I'd be like, oh shit, this is my, you know what I mean? Like, but as a whole, same thing with like Master P and all them. I loved the songs that they put out that I loved. Like, I loved those songs, but 90% of the shit they put out, I never wanted to listen to. You know what I mean? Them and Cash Money were the first ones to like figure out you could make a shit ton of money by just putting a record every week, putting out a new record every week. You know what I mean? Like they got famous and then just was like, boom, 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 boom. People will buy them because they like us, and they do. Those guys put out so many records in such a short period of time. It was ridiculous, man.
Yeah, they were creating music.
Yeah, as they went.
Faucet.
Yeah, dude. They had. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, look, none of the music was like horribly bad, and the fact that they were able to put out music at that quality level, like even if it wasn't like the best songs ever, I mean, even that's amazing. Like that takes a lot of hard
lyrically,
work.
I say, what was it? With Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Lyrically, coined the term bling bling.
Bling bling, right?
Like we have that word bling.
Yeah.
The word bling in the
like,
English.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the dictionary. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Was that Lil Wayne or was it the other guy?
That was Lil Wayne. Also, bling.
Well, it wasn't him by himself. They did it. It was in the song together.
It was on the record, but he wrote that record.
Yeah, he wrote the lyrics.
That's the thing. He wrote
the lyrics. It was
lyrics
him and the other guy, the hot boy. What was the other dude?
That's the guy. That's what I thought it was.
Juvenile.
Juvenile. That's what I thought it was.
The term Make it rain. That's credit to Lil Wayne.
Well, yeah, and
You know, make it
Cash,
rain.
No Limit, like kind of made the whole put out a million records thing, and it wasn't like they weren't talking about how rich they were, but Cash Money was definitely like they were the inventors of like everything's got to have diamonds on it, and
Yeah. Oh
everything's
yeah.
got to
Oh yeah.
have 28-inch
The pen and
rims,
pixel.
and it's got to be the most expensive shit you could possibly have at all times, and like that was definitely, I
That's
mean,
a pen and pixel graphics.
right. I mean, it's Bling
Yeah,
Bling definitely
they were doing a
fits their
lot of
record label.
they were doing a lot
It
of
makes
graphics
sense
in the
that they
'90s.
coined that fucking term. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, look, Lil Wayne, unlike a lot of, like, I like Juvenile, but um, and Manny Fresh put out like some fucking shit that I'm gonna dance to for the rest of my life. Like, dude, that dude was just like nonstop putting out beats that people wanted to dance to. You know what I mean? Like, just bangers in the. You know what I mean? That dude was talented as fuck. But Lil Wayne, I mean, again, there's like 20 songs of his that I will forever have on my playlist of music. Like but even
Lyrically
the
and talented, he was amazing.
that's what I'm saying. Even the stuff I don't like, it's not only just talent, like his ability to do stuff that nobody has ever done before. You know what I mean? Like he is an artist in the truest fucking sense. I
Yeah,
mean, he just comes up
he
with
has a
shit.
gift.
He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, he has
He
a gift.
does something that you're
But
like, what is he doing? Oh, wait, that's
I always
I think I might like this all of a
Yeah.
sudden. Where the fuck did
Yeah.
this come from? You know?
I always tell people, I say I expect him to put out, like, these guys that are in the industry. I mean, you have musicians, you know, the Dungeon Family, Sleepy Brown, T Pain. You have musicians all over, right?
Yeah.
Musically, I expect them to put out a level of quality because of the massive machine that they have behind them.
Yeah.
We work 8 hours a day, sometimes 10 hours a day, getting paid what we get paid, and we're supposed to perform at a level of at our jobs.
Right.
Their jobs are they have multi-million dollar machines behind them. They're
Right.
supposed to perform at a level above par.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I give them that, but I expect that of them. You know, anything less than that is like, well, what are you getting paid for? What are you
Right.
getting paid millions
Right.
for?
Right.
An unprecedented amount of money. So,
Right.
but like even with Eminem, going back to that point, he that package was sold greatly during the time that it was sold. The eye on
Elemental.
Eminem, that element back during that point was so it was so unique to the unbeknownst, the world unknown.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the rap realm, you pick a city, and you can pull 10 rappers that were not black that had venomous bars. Pick a city, and they were
Yeah.
key rappers in that city. In the rap realm, you
Yeah. I
know,
mean,
he was
he
able to put
certainly wasn't
himself in
the
a position.
first
He
white
was able to
rapper
put
that
him.
had talent. That's obviously
No,
not
no,
true.
not by far. I mean, I've
Right.
been
I
able,
agree with
like,
you.
during those times, I've been able to travel and go to some like underground circuits in cities and just hear some like, holy crap,
Yeah.
like the bars that were just delivered. And so when I look at it, I expect him to perform at that level when you have a machine like Dr. Dre behind you, you know. And
Is he still though? Who's putting like I don't know who produced the
well,
new
I'm
shit.
pretty sure he has a team of producers. There's no,
Yeah.
I haven't read
Well,
the
be
credits
fair, a team of
on his
producers is not
records.
Dr. Dre. Like I don't care how millions you're spending.
Well, well,
Dr. Dre is on a
well.
different level than just what you can buy.
Dre is on a different level, but Dre has a production company where Dre doesn't have to sit down and build every record.
He doesn't, but he
Right.
does some of
So
them, and they're better than the other ones
yeah, because
because it's him.
that was a flagship artist,
Right.
you know, with what he was doing.
Right.
So you got in music, you have your presets, you have everything that's expected. You train and teach people you know, it has to be this level, the numbers and settings to what needs to be, expectations per se. But with M, he I think that one of the things that kind of put him at that point, he was able to reach out and relate to a crowd, like you say, that did not have that.
Yeah.
But had he not been white, he would have fell in the mold,
I
in the
man,
mold of rap within itself.
I
Actually,
think
would have probably fell further back behind to the rappers that were out and prevalent at the
I
time.
think that his ability, because look, there's a difference
Creativity,
between
his creativity was his own design, which was unique and
it
which
was
is
unique, and
applauded.
his ability to like
Right.
to rhyme words that don't rhyme. Like he had a uniqueness that other
Yeah, he
rappers don't have, and whether that makes it lyricy like the most talented lyricist out there, no, but it was unique
yeah,
in a way that we
that's
hadn't seen
part of the
before.
job. Yeah, he
Right.
has to. You got to be able rhyming, how 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 you craft your rhymes, how you craft your diction, your your vernacular, however you craft it. That's a part of the job. So he
It
was
is.
able to find one. He was able
It
to
was
find
unique,
one, which
right?
is just
But I don't
yeah, which is
disagree
unique.
with you. Had he not been a white rapper that reached out to the group that he reached out to, he would have been. I think he would have been good enough to been signed, and maybe we would have heard some shit by him. He wouldn't have been anywhere in the hemisphere of who he became. The
Right.
his ability
Had he
to
not been white.
right and right exactly. But
So you then
I
you have to credit
agreed.
to that. Well, what is actually
Yeah,
the content of what we're ingesting?
sure,
Like,
But I
sure.
don't think
what
that
is
that's
it?
necessarily a fault, right? Because what he did
What
that
is
he
it?
deserves credit for is why he was able to kind of break out of like, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, I give him
Nobody.
credit for everything. I give him credit for everything he's
What
done.
I'm saying, let
You
me
can never
just
take
finish
credit away
because
from it. But
nobody was gonna let a white rapper be as successful as he was before he came around. Like white rappers, no matter how talented they were a punchline to a certain degree. Like it
Sure,
did not
sure.
matter
Absolutely.
how
so
good you
let me
were a
ask
Flat
you,
out
joke.
no
why?
ice.
Why do you feel nobody would let
Because
him
for
be?
lots of reasons, but I think it's
Do you think it
different for different
because
people.
do you think it
I mean, I think
because he
some people it
had
was,
the backing of Drake? Like
oh, why
had
did they
he
let him
because
do it?
here's what I'm asking. Had he been pushed by just like, you know, maybe Jive or any other
We
record label,
also wouldn't
no
have
no
had the
no
same level of success. Absolutely.
so when you get into when you break down the package as far as the package of Eminem,
Isn't that kind of true with everybody though? I mean,
well,
like,
no, I mean you have music artists that come out in their own right and just flourish. Bruno Mars,
but they still,
Usher,
but
like
they
these, well, not
still
Usher because
all have a unique set of circumstances that had those sort of or something like that not come together. I mean, to your point, you go to
Anderson Paak is a
or
great one.
you go city to city to city,
Hmm.
and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of unbelievably talented people out
Right,
there that
right.
you're never going to hear of, right?
Yeah, it's like
It,
high school football in the NFL. How many
you're
people play high school football in the city versus how many people actually make it to
Right.
the
I would say that's not even just music or art, art, it's period. Like anybody
Yeah,
who has a unprecedented amount of like anybody who breaks the mold of success and sits high above everybody else, right? All of those people, as much as all of them would like to think, and the people that like them would like to think that no matter what, that was what was going to happen because they were just so amazing that
right,
even
well,
if they were born in a tribe in Africa in a hut, they would have somehow become a multi-billion dollar, no, that's not true. The truth of the matter is if you trace back anybody with a massive amount of success, there's key elements throughout their life that if
well,
you take
yeah,
one of them away, they don't end up being who they are.
they don't
Period.
exist. Right.
Right.
And that's the story to success.
Right.
So when you look at the elements, you say as far as like M would go, that's why I say that's why I ask, would it be the factor of him being white?
Him being
him,
white,
him being co-signed by Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, absolutely.
Yep.
At the
Absolutely.
time, when we just came off of hip hop, like losing Big, losing
Right.
Pac, a
Right.
pioneer, a pioneer in rap co-signs you.
Right. Not only
A
a
whole
pioneer in rap, a pioneer in
genre
rap who just put out one of the most successful rap albums in history
albums,
right
right,
before.
right. Co-signs you as a young white rapper, gives you ultimate validity.
Right. Absolutely.
Instant,
Couldn't have done it
right?
without Dre.
So at that point, everybody that accepted him is like, hey, you know me. You and I, we got a history together. This is my homeboy right here.
Right.
I
Yeah,
say to you,
yeah,
he's my homeboy. You instantly going to accept him,
Yes.
right? That's what happened to the
Level
world.
to a certain level. Because be
But then
clear,
here's what can happen. That homeboy
if
could
he
be
had,
a kleptomaniac and a drug. He could be all types of things.
but he
But
also still has to be good. Be fair, because
yeah,
if Dre had
no.
signed
That's
him
what I'm saying.
and he come out there and put out like some other
Trash. Yeah, he's not
trash
gonna
that
like.
we
And I'm
would have
pretty
been
sure
like,
there
fuck
were
this
other.
white dude,
Yeah,
and
no,
Dre's
definitely.
gone crazy.
Look, I'm pretty sure there were other unique white rappers and that's why I try to.
yeah. Remember they signed the rest of him's crew.
He
Yeah, I
probably
mean, I
has
don't
come.
know.
He
Like, is
probably
he
come
the only
across
person in the world who could
that.
have done it? No, I don't think
No,
that
he's not.
that's
So
true of
Gonna come
anybody,
later.
though.
so
Gonna come later.
that's accredited to his talent.
Yeah,
That's accredited to his talent that Dre saw, right?
right. And
So
then to be fair, like the shit
that's
he
why I
was
say
putting out
you
when
take
Dre
nothing from
signed
that.
him was not the shit we fell in love with either. So, like, Dre
It
had an
was moldable.
eye.
Dre was able to
It was,
craft that
yeah,
shit.
he saw like
Yeah.
a raw talent.
And so
And
what Vic said, what you said, what you and Vic both said, you went back to it may have been you for yourself, but I don't think that when you look into I haven't looked into that album revival or anything as far as that. When I say that word, I get a picture of Bubba Sparks, with his whole, that
That's right. Right.
revival should have been a Bubba Sparks titled album, and that dude's a lyricist. Bubba's a lyricist now,
yeah,
just as great as him. You know, I think that he was the people who had been in this game long enough to know they knew they had a gold mine with him that they could market
I
and
think
their
that the
credibility.
I don't look. I don't think it was only Eminem. I think Eminem and Dr. Dre had the brilliancy of saying, unlike even
Yeah.
Bubba Sparks to a degree, where instead of us trying to turn you into what people have decided a rapper is, right? We're not gonna do that, right? We're gonna let you be you
Yeah.
because there is an untapped market out there that is looking for you, right? And we could change you into this other thing, but people aren't going to like that, right? And people aren't going to accept that you are that because you're not, right? And so instead, we're going to take your talent and we're going to put you in this new category that nobody's doing that's going to speak to a culture that nobody's really speaking to, right? And I don't think like you can't give Eminem all the credit for that. I don't think you can't give him any of the credit for it, but I guarantee you that Dr. Dre and his production team had as much to do with that idea as anybody else did, and they were all really brilliant for coming up with it. And that's what you get now is what he ends up putting out, which is an anthem to millions and millions of young white people out there that don't have somebody to listen to, which is what pushes him into the stratosphere. And then at the same time, you get other people that he isn't their anthem music, right? But they listen to it and go, that might not be my cup of tea, but goddamn, that's good music. You know what I mean? And so even the
Right.
people who he's not preaching to recognize you got to give that dude props, right? And so then he gains a level of respect in a world where somebody like him's never gained that before, right? And it changes everything. That's
Right.
all
That's his
Eminem.
pitch. That's the pitch. But when you look at like the people that you say they had no one to listen to, they did. They had people to listen to that they could relate to. what the relation is just the complexion, just his face, who he is, what he is, right?
Yeah, but
Because I'm pretty sure that they listen to Eminem, but I'm like, Eminem was not the only rapper that they listened to.
absolutely. I mean,
Only
that
thing
was
they
kind of what I said in the
right.
beginning was they were listening. These were
So
people that
that's
were
the sales
listening to
pitch.
rap music to begin with. It's not like it was people that were listening to
Right.
country and then Eminem came out and they were like, "Oh, what is this rap
And they're like,
stuff?"
oh
Like,
yeah,
of course, they were
right, right,
listening
right,
to
right.
artists, some of whom they could identify with, but still not completely because, again, like it's hard to find rap
What do you
music.
think that they could identify with though? What do you think they identify with though?
The
That
struggle.
he
I
brought
mean,
to the
this
table
right.
specifically.
The same shit that we all like.
They were-
Ideally, right, we should all be able to recognize that even if it's not exactly what I'm going through, right? I don't live in a black community, I live in a white community. I mean, that's, if it's an impoverished community where we're all struggling and having a hard time finding our
Right.
way and figuring out how to be something that we want to be that
But that's
people
hip
don't.
hop.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. I
That's hip
but
hop.
agree. But
that's the thing. At the time, hip hop had a large white audience, and it's
yeah,
like what they're
huge.
saying now about having people that look like you in government and as the president or whatever for
Right.
minorities.
Representation.
It's representation of stuff you like in your future that you'd like to be. Well, the same thing
Right.
happening. Whereas there's these white kids that are listening to music that all of a sudden see somebody that looks like them being
That
successful.
looks like them.
That
And it's
looks
not,
like them.
but it's also
Right.
music
But,
that
he was still
that
skilled. It's not like he was just a puppet. He was very skilled, but it's still somebody who represented or looked
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah.
and
That
it's
they
not
could
just looks
So
like him though. Come
that's the
on.
key. That's the key.
It's
That's the
also
key. And
it's
that's why I say
also the
they take
story
nothing
is
from his talent.
right, but
No,
right, but the thing is it's not just that he's white. It's also that he's rapping about trailer parks instead of growing up in the ghetto. He's rapping about his mom being addicted to Vicodin instead of, so you see what I'm
right.
saying? Like he's also
Weed,
right,
it's also
or
in the
crack
struggle.
or heroin, or you know what I mean? Like he is building something that is very specific to their life, their life view, whereas other rappers were making a very specific image to somebody else's life view, right? And I agree, it's not much different when you like take away the specificness of it. It is kind of the
Struggle.
same thing,
No
and
matter
we
what, it's a
should,
struggle.
which is why it was popular amongst white people to begin with,
Right.
because there were plenty of white people that were going through something very similar, just not exactly the same. But he was able to make it exactly the same, which was unique and something rappers had been doing for, I think, black listeners for a really long time, and white people didn't have something that was like very specific to what their life view was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right.
but don't get it wrong.
So it was like
That wasn't his demographic.
imagine living in. It was like right.
That
His
was
demographic
not,
was just what. I'm under the assumption because I don't know what he felt his demographic should be. I'm assuming his demographic was just hip hop. He wanted to speak to the people that understood his language.
Right.
sure. That's
So
not why he got all those record deals, or not deals.
I don't think that he specifically wanted to say I want my demographic to be white kids like me
No, I don't.
who
No,
I
you're
think
absolutely
that
right.
because
But I don't
what
think-
yeah I think that because you have to look at him as a lyricist. I think that his demographic was truly hip hop.
Yeah.
And in hip hop is the life. It's everything. White,
Right.
black, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican,
Well, just like
Asian.
black rappers aren't trying to just talk to black people, right? But
Right.
when they're
So,
being
and
really
that's my point.
true to their story, the image that they're creating is one that a white person struggling often isn't going to see that exact same thing, right? And so while they're talking to everybody, which they are, because obviously I've been listening to rap music forever and I'm not black, right? And so obviously they're reaching out to everybody who understands, like, life is hard and unfair, and I want to be able to just kind of tell everybody to go fuck themselves and do shit the way I want to do it. And that's what spoke to me with rap music from the very beginning, was that it was a bunch of people that, despite often really having no power in life, were like, I'm just going to be powerful and you're going to fucking just realize that I am, and I'm going to do what I'm going to fucking do, and everybody's going to fucking live with it. That's what I loved about rap music. That was the attitude I fell in love with. And both Eminem and everybody else that people tend to center around have that attitude of like, I'm gonna be me and you're gonna fucking live with it. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do
So
shit I'm
the
not even
important
supposed to do. And you can go fuck yourself when I do it. You know what I mean? Like,
the key is what you just said. That's what I love about rap music,
right.
right? So rap music is vast when it comes to content,
It is.
but you find what you love within it.
It's true.
Some people love conscious rap, positive rap.
It's
Some
true.
people just love good shit.
Right.
You know, that
But
because that's what like so what you like you said, I'm gonna do me, I'm gonna be who I am and fuck what you're talking about, and that's what you found you love in it. You have people who love just the storytelling, or you have people who just love the bars. You have people who
I'm a
love the
storyteller.
factor of
I like the
rap is
storyteller.
positive.
I agree with everything you're saying, but
Right.
I think
So
even
you
in
find
other,
what you love in it.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I will say that I think even in the positive message rap, like even rap that's not gangster rap music, there is still a level of, even though I'm nobody, I don't ever like there's an attitude to hip hop music, no matter what kind it is. Not maybe not every bit of it, but most of it, right? There is this attitude of like, I this is who I am, even if it's a positive message. Like, this is who I am and this is what I'm gonna do, and
Yeah,
you are
honestly,
gonna love it or like it, and I don't give a fuck, right?
that's
Like,
it.
there's
Like
always
true
tends to
artists,
be an attitude to it.
true artists, like that's what you like them, or you can see that they're being real because they are, and they're being honest, and they're
Yeah,
going, they're it's not like they're just bullshitting and telling someone else's story.
Right.
It's coming from themselves, and they're being honest
right,
about how their everything goes through, and it comes through in their music and their
right.
rhymes and everything.
Which I think is why so many fall off, because like they have a grittiness to them, whether it's negative or positive music. Like, they have that sense of struggle in them that we fall in love with as people who, because the majority of us are struggling, right, to a certain degree. I mean, even if we're not homeless or poor, right, like anybody who hasn't like become unbelievably rich lives somewhat day to day and worries about what would happen if they get sick, or if they're not going to be able to go out and make money however they make money, and all these things, right? And we all kind of relate to that, right? And when you're somebody who's lived that life, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into a life of yes, and getting to do whatever you want to do and have whatever you want to have, it's hard to keep that edge. And the really good ones do it, and that's why we keep listening to them. A lot of them just, it's like they
That's
start rapping
music
about.
business.
Right. They start
I
rapping
just
about being rich and having everything they want and being able to do whatever they want. And I don't relate to that in any way,
yeah,
shape, or
yeah.
form. And so I'm like, a couple of songs might be so good that I listen to them, but for the most part, I'm like, great, good for you. I'm gonna go back to busting my ass to make a living now. You know what I mean? Like, I
I
don't
just
give a
Right. It's like they say, if you I don't have to was somebody, one of the artists said it, I don't have to sell drugs anymore.
right.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
buying buildings and properties and this
I
and that. If you want that,
think they all
then
said
go
that.
listen to yeah.
But you
But
can,
yeah, that's what I
but
said.
let's be
What
fair,
one of the
you can
artists.
do that lifestyle and still have that edge and that grit and not lose that, right? Um,
I think Eminem is missing his time. I think now is really his should be his time with all the nonsense that's going around in the world, all the like strife and people being all black, white, Republican, Democrat, socialist, whatever, all that crap right now. It's time for this angry
And
lyricist,
that's why he's back.
storytelling
yeah,
ability.
I hope you're right.
That's why he's
The
back.
flip side of that
And I
argument
don't say
is
he's back as in a no, I don't
right,
say that he's back in a factor of him like he's back, yay. No, it's like you ever played jump rope or double dutch. Time shifted to where you want edgy content and controversy and things to speak to and have a light put back on you to walk up underneath. Now is that time. Prior to that, this didn't really happen.
right. The
So
flip
now
side
he
of that
has
is
something.
he has really got to walk a tightrope that he did not have to walk last time, because with the culture cancel culture and people
Cancel
being super hypocritical about what you say and who you say it about. I mean, let's be fair. The albums that we love about Eminem, he'd get destroyed for putting out right now. Like, I mean,
got destroyed for doing it before. I mean,
not like today,
See, no,
not like
he got
today, because
so
he had
no. See,
people
and that's
backing him
the
up
fear.
when people came after him before, and nowadays everybody's too scared to do that shit. And you're
Elton
not.
John. You remember the Elton John thing?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying is I doubt
That's the
Elton
thing.
John would back him up because of the way things have changed. Elton John would be like, he shouldn't be making fun of the gay community because that's what people think now. And Elton John doesn't want to get canceled. Back then, Elton John could come out and back him up and gain 1 million fans that he didn't have. Now Elton John backs him up and people start fucking with Elton John because he's backing up a fucking misogynistic, racist piece of shit. You see what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't call Eminem a misogynist, racist.
I wouldn't call him any of those things.
No, I was just fucking with you. No, here's what I'm saying.
People don't understand satire or comedy in order to bring light to a subject. They just hear the words and don't care what the meaning behind them or the content behind them is anymore. You know what I mean?
He has some. M has some records you should look into as far as content meaning behind them.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've heard a couple. He doesn't fancy black women too well. But listen, my thing is when he came out prior, he was attacked for real. It was real cancel culture back then.
Yeah,
because you didn't have it was for real. So this baby shit now, cancel culture, that's only cancel culture to people who care.
Yep. I think
he survived real cancel culture. So this emotional pretend cancel culture that a week or two from now, what endorsements is he gonna lose? That's the whole reason of cancel culture. Cancel, this cancel culture bullshit ain't gonna affect somebody. It's not gonna affect somebody like Eminem.
I disagree.
He can say the most foul.
I don't think it is just.
You're a fan of him.
I agree.
You have to appreciate his tough skin.
I do, and I hope y'all are right, and I hope that he pushes back against something that needs some pushing back against. Okay, because not all of it's wrong, and some of it comes from a place where certain people have been dealing with shit they shouldn't have to deal with, and I respect that. But it has gone too far, and it needs a pushback, and it's gonna get out of hand. It already has started to, and if we don't adjust, it's going to cause some real issues that none of us actually want to deal with, right? I hope he is the person that can come and push back and win and show us again like he did before, and like NWA and like who was the one that did all the sex records that got fucked with.
Thank you. That's a perfect. Hold on. That's a perfect segue because that's where I was about to go. So when you look at a record that's highly acceptable, is taboo, it's fun, it's colorful, everything is designed for a reason, right? WAP. Everybody, it's joke. We could joke about it. We could make analogies about what it means. We have a record like WAP in this point in time that hasn't even been brushed onto a cancel culture recommendation. But you had 2 Live Crew being beat, arrested, having a fight in the Supreme Court for literally saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is, that's the thing. The difference is before
they had to go to court for the right of freedom of speech.
But the problem with your analogy is they did go to court and the courts decided, right? And so these elements had the actual law on their side, right? They had a law that protect them. This doesn't have nowadays. Nobody goes to court. People just start talking shit about you, and they turn public opinion against you. And then it doesn't matter who stands behind you or not, because if the majority of people out there are thinking that, like, I can't support you because other people are going to think badly about me, now nobody is downloading your records, nobody's buying your merchandise, and it doesn't matter if legally you can sell the shit or not. Nobody's buying it right now. Again, maybe you're right. Maybe Eminem has enough fans. And I had a topic that I wanted to talk about on this show about whether Justin Timberlake should have apologized to Britney Spears. And my major argument would have been Timberlake, being who he is one of the few people that I think could have stood up and said, this is bullshit. And yes, he would have lost some shit, but he's Justin Timberlake, and he has too many fans that love him too much that aren't going to turn his back on him because he doesn't apologize to a girlfriend he broke up with a decade ago because he could have possibly been, it didn't even make any fucking sense, right? I think he could have withstood that and taught some people, you know what, you don't have to just completely surrender to this shit when it is absolutely ridiculous. And if you have enough support, you can stand up to it. I wish Kevin Hart, he tried to push back and eventually caved because he didn't like the direction it was going in. I think Kevin Hart is loved enough that it would have.
You mean cancel culture? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Kevin Hart got fucked with because of some stand-up that he did 10 years ago. It was a little fucked up, but it's comedy. You know what I mean? The dude was joking, and the whole point of most of these jokes is to call attention to the thing that they're joking about in the first place. And I could go on, and we don't have time to keep going on.
I see your relevance, but that applies to what you're saying with Eminem.
I hope
content. If that's the case, his content prior, what initially got him canceled, all the lyrics, beat my girl and stuff her in the trunk,
right?
And, drag her, dump her body. His content prior should come back up if he even shows a picture of himself immediately, because you don't have to go discover and try to find something.
Except that it's not that specific, right? Somebody has to decide that Eminem is a person that they want to go after, and then it happens, right? And if somebody just doesn't decide to do that, then even though he's way guiltier of people that have been completely canceled, it just doesn't happen, right?
I'll sum it up. Cancel culture, these are the many people that Donald Trump references when he says many people. This is that organization.
Yeah, it's individuals. It's not even a court. It's like somebody who has a big microphone says this is really fucked up, and then a few people start talking about it, and then a lot of people start talking about it, a lot of people, and enough people start talking about it that now national media starts picking it up, and people who endorse you start picking it up, and people who support you start picking it up, and now you have a problem. And are you gonna?
So here's the remedy. This is the difference, and you could agree to this to when we grew up. The people that stand up, this is not right. You had the OGs like, sit your stupid ass down and shut up.
Right.
Nobody want to hear what the hell you talking about. Right. Go sit down. I'm gonna go over here and sit down. Yeah, we need that type of pushback towards what, like, not everybody's so scary that they can't. How do we even come to a point now that we're at a cancel culture? Y'all scared? What you scared of?
It's not scared. It's not scared.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a very small minority of people that get a lot of power and pleasure out of being able to do this to people. It is totally people that thrive on the idea that by getting out there and talking about how bad everybody else is, it makes them so much better, right? Like, because I recognize this thing that nobody else recognized about how this person is really a bad person because they said this, and this is, and that's where it all stems from. That's what they're looking for, is recognize how good of a person I am because I stood up for all these people that nobody's standing up for. And it doesn't have anything to do with the shit that they're actually bitching about. Anyway,
I tell them, I say, they want to get into cancel culture and pull up bad stuff that people has done. We can look at the history of America.
That's the point, is there's nobody who stands up to it. If you can literally, if it's not even about what somebody's doing right now, but if you're allowed to take a time machine and go back to any point in history, you can cancel anybody. I mean, that's the bullshit. The people that are canceling people, I guarantee you, have just as much fucked up shit in their past as everybody else does. Nobody is immune from it. It's ridiculous. Like the whole point of humanity is that
It's
we
guilt.
realize that
It's
we make
guilt.
mistakes and we grow from it. If we can't even give people who have realized they made a mistake and grown from it since then credit for that, and instead only care about what they did before they realized all this shit, what, like, we're all fucked. We're all fucked.
We did that for Joe Biden. We allowed him. We made him president. We forgave what he said and did.
Sure. I mean, we do that
And
for anybody that we're not
well, we didn't do that for
canceling. We're
Trump.
doing that
I was
for.
just playing.
I believe we did. That dude had plenty of shit in his past that never fucking came up, and we were too busy focusing on the shit that he was literally doing from day to day to even have time to really go back and look at his past.
It is.
All right.
It is.
Eminem. So we're putting that now that we've
Eminem
gone.
cancel culture. Cancel Eminem.
We've done an hour on
Cancel
Eminem.
Cancel Snickers. Cancel Reese's Pieces. Cancel all that shit.
Yeah.
No.
All right. So the next topic. So we're closing down Eminem. We did probably twice as much time on him as we were supposed to, but it was some good shit. The next topic on of their three topics is universal operating system for all platforms. So I'm not going to go first, but I will kind of give an idea of what we're talking about here for maybe anybody who's listening or watching that doesn't understand this. So, the idea has been around for a long time of, setting up a universal platform for technology, so to speak. Everything runs off of one platform, and the benefits of doing that are kind of endless. I mean, I think there's some downsides to it, but I understand why people, dream of such utopia of, the ability for our systems to work properly, to not, have so many technical issues, to be easily fixed when there is some, and just what we could do with a universal platform. There is a country, and I'm kicking myself for not having looked this up. I thought about it right before the show started, because I'll give my opinion in a minute, but there is a country that does have a universal platform for everything, and it's pretty utopian. I mean, like your ability to spend money, your medical records, like when you file your taxes, like everything you do, you have one card you carry around with you. It's the only thing that you need. Everything runs off the same platform. The platform is run and protected by the government of the country. And while, you might think that with one platform to attack, they'd be screwed with all the time, it's also one platform to protect, right? All the money that's spent in that country, on digital security is, all put towards this one system. They've never had an incident, and they've been doing it for like 15 years, and everything runs perfectly. They have like buses that don't have drivers, taxi cabs that don't have drivers. They file their taxes in like 2 minutes. When they go to the DMV, it takes 2 minutes. I mean, like, just everything just runs perfectly smooth, and it's amazing. So there are people who think that it might not be a bad idea for us to just decide on a platform, close out everything else, and go with that for the.
I gotta look into that country.
So
right.
Yeah, I mean, I will try while you guys are doing y'all's
you go locate
time on it. I'm gonna try to figure it out. I saw it on a Netflix special about something else, but that was one of the things that they did on it, and I mean, it's fucking amazing. It really is. But
I just see
that's I'm not. This isn't me saying whether I agree with it or disagree with it. Right. That's the idea behind it, right? Would it be better for us all together if we didn't have to deal with the many complexities that come up with having multi-platform systems, right? So
I mean, one platform like the Hunger Games.
One platform, like, instead of having OS and Windows and
Windows has universal platform
and equipment that run off of different platforms, there would be just OS or whatever, and everything would run off of it. Everything would communicate with everything, without any issues. Just one platform, right? So, anyways, that's the topic. Victor, what do you got on the single platform system?
Well, I looked up two different kinds. I guess universal platforms is that they're trying to come out with one that has to do with your computer, your laptop, your phone, your iPad, or whatever, and it's between all those different platforms, and that most companies that make apps, they got to make an app for your computer, and then they got to make the second app for your phone, or websites have to appear differently on your phone than they do on your
Right.
computer. So it's difficult to do that, or it's, you have to make
Development.
basically two programs for everything. So Windows does have a universal one that goes across all systems, and it does make it a little bit easier and a little bit better for the app producers. And that's cool, and I think it's a good idea. What you were talking about is universal, like everyone in the country is going to run the same operating system.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's what they're doing in Estonia. That
Oh,
works.
that is Estonia.
So it's Estonia. Yeah.
I think that's scary as hell, because who's going to run it? Who's going to make it? Who's going to control it? And that has all our information in it. I know all our information is in the web now, but still, does the government run it? Does Microsoft run it? Does Bezos run it?
I see that as all bad. Is why is the term monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Well, it'd only be monopoly if it was a private entity. If it was the government, that's not a monopoly.
It is. They just don't call it.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not.
It's Hunger Games.
It's not what a monopoly is.
Right. We understand what you mean. It's not what a monopoly is, but it will be a monopoly ideology.
Absolutely.
Just delivered to you from the government.
There's no competition.
Delivered to you from the government. That's all.
Yeah, but in order for it to be a monopoly, somebody has to be profiting off of it, right? And
the government profits
off of that. How?
You have to buy it. Someone's got to pay for it. Period.
I mean, they would just be maintaining the security of the platform that was. I mean, private entities can still sell the technology. It does. The government doesn't have to sell you the laptop in order to run the platform that the laptop runs off of. I don't think that it's necessary. I mean, I guess it's a possibility.
They're going. It's there's a business behind it. Yeah. It's too. It's like you say, where you were going to. There's private companies that have to divvy into that government one platform system, and it's not going to. You have special interest when it comes to who and what. There's no balance. What you would say would be a checks and balance on that. That monopoly wouldn't that universal what's the term, one platform system is not a good thing. You need a contrast. I wouldn't see that as a good thing.
Okay. Anybody both, I mean, Victor, you had a little bit more time before Doc kicked in. Do you guys have any, before we start getting into it, does anybody have anything they want to say? Any uninterrupted dialogue that they have about the topic? I haven't given my 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I see both sides of this, and I don't know that it is an easy answer of what's right and wrong. I wholeheartedly understand the idea that having a multi-platform system, money, unfortunately, more than anything else, is what pushes competition, right? And so the fact that our technology gets so much better, the fact that every year your phone does things that it didn't do before, and so forth. I mean, all of that is an attempt to sell more product, right? They have somebody else that's building phones that they're competing with, and so in order to get you to buy their phone, they have to make their phone amazing, right? And so that level of competition that exists with a multi-platform system goes away when there's only one platform. And so in that sense, I see it, causing a lot of issue. I think there is a technical, a security concern. Although I do think that there's almost just as much argument for why it could be a more secure system as there is for it being a less secure system. I don't think either one is wrong. I think there is a scenario in which a one platform system could be vulnerable. I think there is also a scenario, if it's done correctly, that a one platform system is less vulnerable. Is it possible? Of course, everything is possible. And the system that we have now is not secure, right? We know that for a fact. We see it all the time. So we wouldn't be going from a system that we have now that's perfect and that nobody ever fucks with to a system that could possibly get fucked with. We'd be switching to a system that could possibly get fucked with and maybe is more secure than what we're dealing with now. It's really hard to protect a multi-platform system because there's so many kind of backdoors and extra code, so to speak, that gets left open when you're writing so much shit in order to make Windows and Apple's communicate with each other. It leaves it more vulnerable than a single platform system would be. It's easier to test again. One of the great things about Apple is, with them being a closed system, is that they can test their systems really easily because there's not a cajillion different combinations of things, this system with this operating system, and then this sound card and this. It's an infinite number of combinations that any person putting a computer together today can come up with. How can you possibly test against that? You can't. Apple, on the other hand, very well can easily do that. Like, they have one operating system. They have
It is the operating system. It is an operating system. That's where you have the different OSs, like
it's not just an
Tiger
operating
and
system.
Ox.
Apple has an operating system. It's also a company, but yeah, it is its own. Yeah, it has a single operating system that Apple runs off of, right? And the fact that they do that, and the fact that their systems are very hard to run anything else on, or plug anything else into, or attach anything else to, makes them a lot easier for them to test against, people trying to penetrate it and figure out backdoors into it. It makes it a lot easier for them to test to make sure that if you use this laptop with this scanner and this, you put all those things together, is the motherboard going to fry? They can test all that shit and over and over and over again before they put a product out, which is why you don't see a lot of issues with the Apple product. The downside of that is, if depending on what you're wanting to do with a computer, Windows gives you this endless, and not just Windows, right, but any of the other ones that are open source,
Linux and
right, that allow you to plug anything you want into them, right? Gives you this endless opportunity to design it to where it works exactly the way you want to, which is a huge benefit. I think, sadly, for most people, it's not a benefit. Most people don't use computers in a way where they don't need to just turn the fucking thing on and it works, right? And so I think for most people, a closed off system ends up being more efficient for them because they just don't need all of that. The truth of the matter is, I would say for 75% of users out there, a decent Windows or a decent Linux or a decent OS system is going to do everything that they need it to do, and they're never going to need it to do anything else, right? If you're trying to go on the internet and watch Netflix and fucking check your Facebook and shit, any computer can do that shit. You don't need it to do all the extra shit. Now, for the other 25% that are making music, or doing podcasts, that design shit, that there are computer programmers or app builders or all this other shit, then I'm sure none of them would be excited about a closed platform system at all. It's gonna limit a lot of creativity. It's gonna eliminate competition, which enhances technology growth in the technology and so forth. So there's a lot of downsides to it, but I'm telling you, you should check out the fucking Estonia. I with all of the downsides to it, what they're doing is makes what we're doing look like shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're making it work a lot better than we are so far. I'll just say that. And I don't like the idea of a closed platform system. I mean, if you made me say an answer, I don't like limiting technology, and I think it does that. But I mean, if you told me right now from a technical standpoint, would I rather do what we're doing or have what they have? I'd rather have what they have. That shit is amazing, and it seems really easy, and I'd make my life a whole lot fucking better than all the shit I have to deal with to get my shit to work every day. All right, so that's my 2 minutes. What do you guys think about that? I've said a lot. Anybody have any issues with what I
just think it's trash, and it'll put you back in the circle of needing to have multiple platforms, and it's so it's so many ways that it'll go bad. Power.
Yeah.
There will be something written to hack, and it's just that way.
Yeah, but
like, this is the way.
So I think there's two sides to your argument that makes sense to me, which is, first of all, I disagree with the fact that, I mean, our system's not unhackable now, right? So if the only argument is we're not going to be able to make that unhackable, that's not an argument. We have never been able to do that, right? So to put that as the gold standard it's a gold standard we've never achieved, right? So that can't be the reason why we don't do it. Flip side, I say, maybe it works in Estonia because it's not America, right? Like, maybe they have a government entity that they can trust to run that shit and not fuck with us or look at our information or whatever fuck it is they're gonna want to do with it. And so that's why it works there and it wouldn't work here. I mean, that's legit. I mean, that's a fair argument. It might just be who's doing it that makes the big difference in whether it's successful or not.
You already have a tracking device that's located in your pocket. So I mean, but
yeah,
give it over to the government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say, the flip side of that argument is they might already have all of our shit anyway. And we might as well go with the comfort of it being convenient if we've already, I mean, they've been listening and recording and compiling our shit for like 15 years now. So like if we're already there, we might as well take advantage of the benefits of letting them run all the shit if they already have all the information to begin with. You know what I mean? If we were starting up from scratch, it would bother me a whole lot more. But I mean, fuck, they're already doing all that shit, aren't they? I mean, the NSA, they're listening to all of our fucking phone calls and recording them. I mean, if any of that shit in that fucking Snowden movie was accurate, I mean, they can pull up a computer and fucking track me and anybody I've ever talked to in my entire life. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
The shit that they're already tracking, they're doing like, I think they're allowed to go 3 people out from you, and 3 people out is like 15 million people or some shit that they can track because somebody's on a Facebook page who text messaged the fucking, I mean, come on, dude, like, give me a break. They're already watching everything,
Yeah, but isn't it kind of scary that like it's if you move the line, then they move the line too?
Becomes easier.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
It's even worse.
Maybe
if we move the line to like, okay, now you can freely track us. Well, they're gonna be like, well, shit. Now we need to like drug you or something, or your head.
Yeah, I mean, because my argument there would be, you're right, except then that's my suggestion is there really? And I mean, I don't think a single platform system gives them like, okay, we get to drug them now. I mean, I don't know how you get, and I know you were just exaggerating to make a point, but legitimately, what would they be able to do now that they're not already doing? If there is some legitimate shit, then I wholeheartedly agree with you. If they're basically
what they're doing now was available or legitimate at the time. 10 years ago, we didn't believe they could do what they do now, and in another 10 years, you won't be able to believe what they can do then.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying if they can already know exactly where I'm at and everything that I've done. Like what like that sucks and it's scary and I wish we haven't gotten to this point and it pisses me off that we have. But then like that's everything, right? Like what are they, you know what I mean? Like what it's not that I don't it's not that I'm incapable of imagining worse or that they would do worse. I don't know what the worst is, you know what I mean? That they would do with the information that they don't seem to already be able
And
to do.
that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the scary part, is that you don't know what the worst is, and that they can go so far, be so further beyond that.
They can do that now.
As an
Yeah,
example
And just,
though,
but
like
just,
what's an
but yeah, but
example
just
of
not
so much
telling.
worse
of
of being
having radical ideas like that the government should actually be working for us, and then hearing those ideas and ending up in a freaking camp in northern Utah or
they
something.
can already do that though. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
No, they can hear you. They can hear you. They can't take action on it because then their little game is up. You know, they
Okay,
have
but giving I guess
They can't. They
what I
can't take official action.
right.
but that whether they can take
They can
official
take.
action or not has nothing to do like having a
That's
single
what
platform system makes it easier to retain information. It doesn't give them the ability to pass laws that don't exist yet. I mean, that's either going to happen or it's not. But having a single operating system doesn't give them the ability to say, we now think that we should be able to build camps to store people in when we don't like the information that we already have. You see what I'm saying? Like there's nothing about building a universal platform that gives them any, like they have the information. So if what you're saying is once they listen to it, what they hear scares people enough to do that, they can already do that. You see what I mean? Like, I don't know anything in your scenario that the single platform system makes that scenario easier than it already is. It's scary as fuck, but
yeah.
I mean, I think we're already at that point. So I would again kind of come back to if we've already surrendered all the shit we didn't want to surrender, shouldn't we at least get the not worth it, prize of surrendering, right? But it's still better, right? So if I've already decided, I'm going to let you do all this horrible shit to me, and your argument the whole time is you get this, right? And I'm like, this isn't worth this. This isn't worth this, right? And then you get here anyways. Well, fuck, if you're there, give me this because, I've already put up, this shit already happened. I should at least get the goddamn cookie. You know what I mean? I might be wrong. And maybe somebody more, knowledgeable of this information can tell me
With like a
what they
privacy,
get out of the single platform system that I'm not aware of that they don't already
privacy in your
have.
data, the
Which
privacy
case,
in your data. Right now, you're talking about like communication, like listening to cell phones and listening to conversations, but even like the data that's stored on your home computer. The idea is they're not supposed to be able to get to it unless they have a warrant.
yeah, the argument is
Everyone-
that they can very, very, very easily if they want to already.
It's not admissible in court unless they have a warrant for it.
Right. But they can use the Patriot Act to just completely skip the criminal process system
Now,
altogether.
that I'm not so sure. Patriot Act is amazing in its ability to screw.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, they're not going to do that to everybody. But I also think, I mean, for this, our ability to fight back has kept them from being able to just completely listen whenever they want. I mean, I don't think that changes with a single platform system.
sure, listen, but I'm talking about the actual your data. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have pretty easy access to it. And the truth of the matter is most of us are giving this shit up for free anyways. I mean, most of the stuff that
That's what you do when you agree to a platform.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
haven't
all
we
this
done that? I mean, haven't we
I
done
click
that with
agree.
Facebook and Twitter and Google and all that shit? Haven't we done that already?
Yeah, yeah, you do that. You just getting a phone is standard. Now.
Right. I mean,
When you click I agree. That's it.
I
Read
hate
that long
everything that
scroll.
you guys hate with just as much, anger. But I just, I'm wondering if we have to accept the fact that the large percentage of the population already made that decision for us, and we're at that point now. What do we do at that point moving forward? And if I'm wrong, then I would go back to completely agreeing with everything that y'all are saying. I don't want to do anything that makes it easier to get even more information than they already have. But if we're already past that tipping point, then what are we just standing up for ideological reasons and not because it's actually going to stop them from doing anything? Is there a way to fight back and get, I mean, that's the other thing, is just because they have the information doesn't mean that, we can't fight back to make them dump the information in the first place, right? I mean, it's not like they have FBI agents that have it all in their head. It just, what I mean? Like there's like eons and eons of fucking hard drives full of that information. I mean, if we destroyed those towers, all that information would go back to being private again, like it probably should be.
Backed up somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I mean that's the other thing too, which is scary. I mean, we need the information. As long as we're storing the information, it needs to be backed up. So unless we get better at realizing we need to store that information ourselves, and we need to do it in like an air gap situation so that people can't get access to it, as long as we maintain this laziness of want to have access to all of our shit whenever we want to, however we want to, no matter if I'm at home or in California, right? This long, because the convenience is too enticing, then then again I go back to the idea that we don't have any privacy already. Like that shit is there for anybody to access whenever the fuck they want to, and they have the ability to do it.
Yeah, but there's also
for the internet, which is what
even
you call living off the grid.
And what you're saying is like, because again, like, oh, they'd have to go and access it. Well, even if they were storing it, they'd still have to go and access it. Again, it's not like once we gave it to them, everybody would just automatically know it. Like it would still be on a massive database that they'd have to go and find and get that information. And I don't imagine that's that much harder than getting it from us now is,
Okay, but you got to understand is that right now we have the ability to find or use technology in our favor as far as hiding or scrambling our information so that certain people can't get it. VPN versus something network, where they actually scramble the data before and after it comes into your computer. Matter of fact, there's even one that like acts like your computer's in freaking Sweden. Those are softwares that you can buy that keeps your information private from the government, from whoever you want it to be, whoever, from hackers, from whatever. And if they made this one platform system, especially by the government, you don't think they'd outlaw that real quick?
I mean, but I mean, I would argue again that their ability to outlaw something doesn't. It's not, a piece of technology isn't what allows them to outlaw something or not. It's us allowing them to pass and sign bills that gives them permission to do that. And we have just as much or just as little sway in that right now. No new piece of technology changes that. Like we still have, we still have the ability to put people in office that, and vote on laws and regulation like we always have. And I don't see a piece of technology either increasing or limiting that ability. Like in order for them to say, hey, now that we have this new platform, we want to get rid of encryption. Like having the platform doesn't change how a law gets passed, like they'd still have to do that. And maybe they can. Maybe they can't. I don't know that the platform helps them do it.
Or that they build it into the platform.
Well, but I mean, an encryption system, even the company that creates the encryption system can't break the encryption system. That's the brilliance of the encryption system, right? So if you have an encryption system, you have an encryption system, like whether there's a universal platform or not doesn't change your ability to be able to send protected information across the platform.
Or does it?
I mean, I guess you could say that once it gets to where it's going and you decrypt it, do they have access to it? I would go back to, do they already? Once you uncrypt it, how hard is it for them to go on your computer and see that shit now?
Already have access to it.
I mean, again, I'm not platform. ultimate authority on this. Somebody much more technically inclined could write in or call us or go on one of our, go to the Facebook page that we have. The
shout out to the Facebook page and the Twitter feed, and
yeah. So what?
I was just saying, it's a good time to shout out to her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's what. Yeah. So that's what I was about to do. So we are positively disagreeable at Facebook. And then on Twitter, it is, I apologize because it's a handle, so I don't have it completely memorized, but it's like PDA _, something. Give me one second.
Podcast, was it?
No. Dang it. I also
Is it PDA_podcast?
is that what it is? Does anybody know for sure?
That's what I think it was.
I think you're right. I'd love to actually see it somewhere to make sure.
Yeah, I went to look for it on Twitter, but
PDA_podcast. So at PDA_podcast. Wow, that's sad. And then I don't know, do you guys have individual stuff? So I mean, the reason why I suck at this is because this is the first time I've I'll admit that the podcast is the first reason I've ever signed up for Twitter. I've never had a Twitter account, but I am at host of PDA at Twitter, and for Facebook, I believe I am. What is it? Crud. Man, this is bad. I'm gonna have this stuff memorized. I promise next time. Adam Host. I'm Adam Host at Facebook. What is it? So, yeah, we just really shotted those out easily. So check us out. If anybody who has more specific information about this topic that can explain to me why we're not already over the cliff and heading towards the rocks below, hit us up and let us know, because I'm with you. If there is any sense of us giving up even more privacy than we have already given up, even in the slightest bit, like at this point, even if it's just for I don't know, I will gladly hold on to the tiniest bit of privacy I have left, because I hate how much we've given up, so that we can show each other pictures and everybody can know when my birthday is. I mean, it doesn't seem worth it to me, but apparently the majority disagrees with that. But again, if we're already there, and if I'm already suffering the consequences, then give me my goddamn cookie at least. You know what I mean?
Biden did. He said it'll be in the form of a check in a week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to mine. Look,
Right.
I'm not gonna get off on a topic that we're not even on, but do I think that it's a little silly that I'm getting a check because I definitely don't need one? Yes. But if they're sending them out to everybody else, you best believe I'm spending that money when I get it.
That's kind of the point, though. I mean, it is. I mean, it's supposed to be a stimulus, so we're supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's
true. It's not just the people who need the money are getting it. It throughout history, anytime they've put money out into the public hands as stimulus, it has massively, increase. What's the word I'm looking for? Like every dollar that they put in, twice as much gets spent.
Just spend it.
Yeah, we spend it, and it boosts the economy, and we could use a boost in the economy. So I am gonna do my fair part in boosting when that shit comes in. All right. So I think, is there anything else anybody desperately wants to say about universal operating systems that they haven't said? Anything we missed? We good? All right. So the last topic is rare air on positively disagreeable. something that we've
been
been
talked about for a long time.
It's been in the fishbowl. We got a new fishbowl, by the way. We're probably going to end up with an actual fishbowl at some point, but I had a milk and cereal incident the other day that corrupted the stuff inside the old fishbowl, so we had to switch to something that was waterproof. But this is a topic that's been in the fishbowl since maybe the very beginning of the fishbowl, and we haven't gotten to yet. That we're gonna talk about today. It surprises me that this is a very heated thing that goes on out there. That there's a large percentage of the population that feels very adamant that the rest of the world is wrong about this. But flat Earth, here we go. Oh, real quick, before we go crazy, all right, I am going to give a little bit of description of what we're talking about. Everybody's going to do their 2 minutes, all right, because I imagine this one's going to get a little crazy. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. So flat Earth, obviously, for anybody who has been lucky enough to avoid the fact that there are people out there that question this. No, there is a large, very unfortunately large group of people that believe that we have not yet proven that the Earth is round, and that the many scientific evidence that we do have is either incorrect or is fake news, for lack of a better word, fake science. That the pictures from NASA of the Earth from the moon are fake because we never actually went to the moon, etc. Right? So we're gonna go after that one today. I am gonna save Dot for last this time. Victor, you want to go first? I'll go second.
Oh man, are you serious?
I'll go first. You want to go second? I can go first.
I'll go second. I'll go second.
Okay.
I'll go second.
All right. So I am at my beating core a numbers and science person, right? I mean, I do let motion get into things, but when numbers, I wholeheartedly believe numbers don't lie. I wholeheartedly believe science doesn't lie. And while I do believe that there are such things as conspiracy theories, I recognize that more often than not, when the things that we're told are true, and the fact that sometimes there aren't does not mean that you can then take any idea that you want and just say that because the government or whatever lied to us in the past, that they're obviously lying to us now. I think there's unending scientific evidence that the world is round. I mean, even if you don't believe we went to the moon, it has never been highly contested that we actually went to space. And that would be far enough out to see the bending of the spherical globe that we live on. But even prior to that, the way you see ships disappear, the way where's my thing? They disappear like that as they sail off in the distance has always been, pretty clear evidence that it's spherical. In my mind, the fact that there's a laser on the moon that you can shoot at and get a reflection back from a mirror on the moon because we left it there, or with a powerful enough telescope, you can see all the shit that we left behind when we went, because the thing that they lived in, a lot of it's still there, isn't it? They left like the base of it and shit behind, and they leave the rover behind. I think there is like actual NASA shit you can see from a telescope. Anyways, so obviously the world is flat is what I've been trying to say this whole time. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Victor, what you got?
Man, so I think it's insane. I think it's crazy. I think that you have to believe the many people that came before us. The Egyptians have written that the Earth is round. I mean, it wasn't like that whole thing you learn about Christopher Columbus. That's crap. I mean, he was not the first person to think the world was round. He's not the first person.
Right.
It was like
he didn't sail off trying to prove it. Right, exactly.
Aristotle, something about the stars and the way they rotated, and and the difference in where they're located when he traveled long distances, that he realized that the Earth had to be round. But man, it's a fun theory to think about. Part of it, I looked it up. Yes, some of them still believe that the moon is out there and that we did land on the moon, but that the moon is actually something like 100 kilometers around or something like that. It's just like a small ass moon, and they think that the the oceans are being held by an ice cap, which what we consider the South Pole is not really the South Pole. It's actually an ice cap that surrounds the whole disk of the Earth that keeps the oceans in. Another one, we're sitting on a table, like the whole Earth is a disk on top of a large table. One is like that that we live in a snow globe. I mean, this is fun theories. This is fun, like, man. So this is like that university dorm room after hours herbal environment
Yeah, right.
of of,
Like
of,
the
of
meaning of life conversation you have when you're really fucked up and everybody else is falling asleep.
That's
And it's
right.
like
But
you
there's
and one
like
other person.
Right,
three
right.
Yeah,
people that are still
right,
awake.
right,
So,
right.
oh, it's really cool, man.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy, dude?
What do you think this is?
I've
How
had a few
about
of those.
this?
I think I've
I
had
just had
more of those nights than
the
the average
greatest
person.
idea. Let's get ice cream.
Let's
I
get
think
ice
like
cream.
I think unfortunately like from I don't know 19 to 25 that was every night I had for a while.
That's right, exactly. Absolutely.
All right, Dot, what you got, brother?
Well,
Teach us, my
what
man.
is what is flat? What is round? What is a sphere? These are the questions that you ask when you're thinking of flat Earth. I don't know. Hey, it's all in technical terminology. You have a sphere, which can also be flat.
Gotcha. Depending on which direction you're looking from.
Right. So the science behind it, um, as you said, is fun. I think that what if it is flat? What if well, we're not talking about the spinning ball with, that they say we live on that spins in a circle and magically keeps the water on it by the G word, the gravity.
Gangster.
But it's flat with levels, you know. Uh I looked into this mindset per se without a how they say herbal smoke around, but it's one of those things where look at the math, look at the numbers. Can the numbers say something else? Can the numbers equate to the centrifugal force and what water does at speeds and what is gravity? What keeps it gas giants as so-called spheres? And I didn't prep for this. This is just a top that was. I had a water bottle and I looked at it, oh, a sphere.
I was impressed,
No.
actually. I thought you actually had brought props.
No, I was just water top. No, I thought about it just to push my brain, push my mind per se. The brain is encased in the skull. The mind is encased in the brain as far as. But when you think about the basic concept of things, gas, gas giants, and the chronological order and the heliocentric model of space kept in its enclosure by the sun's gravitational pull, never distorted. Stars that are mapped for thousands of years in a floating space that have the same alignment and position for millions of years. Like when light travels and bends and you're in a floating space, a star that's here shouldn't be in the same space in, X amount of thousands of years. If everything is moving at thousands and millions of miles an hour. When you look at the Earth being round, it wouldn't make any sense to the whole story that's put together. It just
All
wouldn't.
right. Okay. So that's another thing that comes up for me when you start talking about that is, we're able to look out into the galaxy right now, really far, and I don't believe we found any other planet-sized masses that aren't spherical, right? So then we would have to kind of be the only between moons and planets, we'd be the only one that's not a sphere. And I think even scientifically, if you look at the way things rotate on an axis, just over time, it's something that gets stuck into the gravitational pull of a multi-planet and sun system is going to get warped into a sphere based on the pulls associated with that, right? Which is why the planets are round, because they don't all start off that way. I mean, it just again, it seems like science here has answered this one a long time ago with facts that take math
dark
that I might
energy,
know.
dark matter.
With that,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
it might take some math that I myself am not capable of doing. So in that sense, it's a small matter of trust in the people that are doing the math for me, that the calculations that they're coming up with prove the things that they're saying that it proves. But it just seems like it's not like we're basing it on one picture from the 60s that we don't know for sure is accurate or not. We have satellites that we've sent out into space
Right.
that have orbited things, and taken
Right.
pictures and sent them back. And so even if you believe that the us going to the moon is a hoax, which I think is hard to prove.
Yeah,
Or
that's I heard that's out there too. That we didn't go, or we did not go to the
that
moon.
we did not go to the moon, right? That the pictures are faked. That it was super important to the United States to beat Russia to the moon, and when we felt like we weren't going to actually be able to accomplish it, we just faked it.
Stanley
Which,
Kubrick.
I'm not saying I would put it past us, except for the unbelievable amounts of evidence that we did, in fact, go. There is a laser.
The
There is a
flag flying, the flag should not have been flying.
Yeah, that's a big one, which they proved. Even the MythBusters proved that to be inaccurate based on the levels of gravity on the moon. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and the fact that if you have a strong enough, there you go. Even again, I'm pretty sure they left parts of the thing that landed there, but they definitely left the flag there. Like with a powerful enough telescope, you can see the evidence that we've been there from here. Like, it's like it's undoubtable that we've been there. And then if you decide that that's true, then we've taken pictures. And I admit, in the pictures, I guess technically you could be looking at this instead of a sphere. But one of the ways that we get to the moon is we go up into space, and then we loop around the planet to gain momentum before we shoot out to the trajectory to the moon. Otherwise, it would take us too long to get there. And so if you believe we went to the moon, then the only way we did that was by going around the sphere on the way to get there. I'm sure if you gave me 10 more minutes, I could come up with about 20 other reasons why.
So we use the gravitational pull or push of the Earth to get to the moon based
Yeah.
on the trajectory,
Yeah. Same
but
thing when we come
there's no
back.
resistance.
And
There's no
same thing
resistance in
happens on a
space.
flat surface too.
If
There's
you
gravitational pull in space. Yes. Far enough
or
out there.
resistance is well dark energy, right? Out in the
Yeah, far enough out that
atmosphere.
there isn't, but you can go past the atmosphere and still, you're still in orbit, which means
Yeah,
that
most of
the
all.
planet still pulls on you.
Pulls,
Um,
right?
yeah, and so they use
Superman.
that pull, the
Superman fell out of space.
centrifugal force of the pull. Like, it's like the same thing, like on the playground thing that spins. If you stand at the very center of it, you don't feel it. If you get way out on the edge, you're going faster, and so it has a bigger
Right, and
effect
you'll end
on
up
you.
throwing you off of it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, at high speeds. Yeah, yeah,
Which
exactly.
is funny you mention that because shouldn't that be the same with water? If we're on a spinning ball, the proverbial equator should have water coming from the ground out into space. If we're on a spinning ball and all the water should meet to the middle and fly out like the rings of Saturn.
There actually is I think we're wider at the equator than we are at the poles or something like that, obviously. So, I mean,
Right.
there is some kind of elongated thing at the
I'll
middle of
admit I don't know the math that explains why gravity keeps everything pulling downward towards
Oh,
the Earth.
I'd like to also point out, Adam, that your example was a flat surface on the playground.
It's true. It's true. Um,
That's a good one, Victor.
Thank you.
You my good man, are a scientist and a scholar with
but
solid evidence to corroborate that the Earth is
You're right.
flat. Thank
I
you.
want to
This
100%.
has been
So, but here's the
solved.
thing. My point. You make a valid point. So let me articulate the point I was making, which is not that the fact that we do that requires that it to be a cylinder, but rather that there were people on the ship looking at the planet the entire time we were wrapping around it and taking pictures of it. And that's how they were able to witness and take photographs of a globe as opposed to a disc. Because even if you could do it on a disc, if you're here and you're looking at the disc, you would see that it was
What
did
if you're
that.
at an angle and it's more like a top? Like an actual top, like like the top you
So
spin.
you're suggesting that they did this, right? No, sorry, that they did this, and
Well,
right?
what if they did it like a top? Like you ever play with the top, like where it's
But where are they looping around in order to get the momentum?
Yeah,
You're
round
saying
is round.
like
Round
this,
is round.
right? They're
You start
using
from
no,
the
like outward a little bit, like outward, like your
okay.
finger kind
So
of.
they're
No, no,
here
no.
and they go like
Okay,
this, right?
not in line with the bottle cap, just a little bit forward from the bottle cap at an angle
in front of.
in front of. Yeah, there you go, like that, and in a circle. You
Yeah, I
still see
still
the Earth.
think
You'll get the
you
perspective
don't
of
see the
you'll get the
flat part
perspective of a
of
sphere.
this side, but you still see the flat part of this side.
Yeah, but you look different. You'll look more circular because you're looking back at it.
Doesn't I mean
Take that circle, the sphere that
doesn't
you're in
look
front of, and go round and round like this.
I'm saying it doesn't look
It's
like a
still a
sphere. It
circle.
looks like a flat bottle top. No matter
A
what angle
flat
I look
bottom
at it from.
because you're the depth perception. Yeah.
Right.
Because it is a bottle cap. It's not the Earth.
So you're saying that when it's the Earth shaped like a bottle cap, it does do that?
That's right. It looks different.
Yeah. All right.
That's why all airports on the earth face east and west so that they can fly and land.
Have you ever
The
seen
spin of the earth, none of them face north and south.
have you ever seen the image
That's
or
pretty good. I don't know that.
have you ever seen the
No,
image
that's not
that
true. They do face north and west. I'm sorry.
Oh damn it! You see, you had me. You had me.
Yeah, that's the trolling rhetoric. Um,
you
how does a
know
plane land north and south on a planet that's spinning 1,000 miles an hour at the center? east to west.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Does it
Have
make
y'all,
sense?
have y'all ever seen
No.
the image of an Earth like on a picture where it shows all the satellites that are in orbit?
Right.
Have you ever noticed that they're not all going like this, right? There's ones that go this way and ones that go this way and ones that go like they make this whole like almost net
Around you.
around the globe by circling in different directions.
Right.
Right.
At hundreds of miles an hour,
Taking images so good that
and
when they
there's not
zoom
this
in,
violent
they can like
collision.
read because it's massive amount of space that you're talking. It doesn't take a lot of calculations to make a few things not bump into each other when you're talking about billions of square feet of space. In fact, quite the opposite. The reason why the Star Wars program
Right.
never worked is because it's so much space that trying to get a rocket to hit another rocket is like, even when you do a really good job, you're like 115 miles off target.
Right.
uh
But they are capturing. They are synchronized to make that net over the
right,
earth
and not impact with
collide.
each other, right?
I'm
Plus
looking at the image of the
all the
millions
shit
they
that
have.
we've left up there, that it's amazing to me that our satellites aren't destroyed on a regular basis just from like all the parts and like junk that we've left up there over the years. There's so much shit floating out there from NASA.
They're actually supposed to be on a degrading, I believe that's the way
Yeah, they come back.
orbit, so it eventually comes back to the Earth. And the
Does, yep,
idea is that they're supposed to burn up in the atmosphere.
right. No, that is all true. There's
Right.
still the shit before it burns up is a fuck ton of stuff up there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. They have images of that where there's like a dot for every thing, and it's fucking insane how much shit they left up there. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. The other thing is that stuff does come back down and most of it burns up, but not all of it does. And miraculously, nobody's ever been hurt by falling debris. Um, Mathematically, it's because a huge portion of the earth is the
Water.
ocean, right? And so most of it's not populated, and so we just had good luck with that. But I mean, at some point, it's got to happen. I would imagine with all the shit that's falling down.
All right. So here you
So
go. You ready? Watch this one.
yes,
All right.
I'm ready.
So Antarctica is the
Yes.
only country that is not, or continent or whatever,
Continent, yeah.
is the only one that's not populated. All right. So they believe that this Antarctica is a ring of ice. All right. And the idea is that it's actually guarding something that's very valuable on the other side of Earth, which is, first of all, it's a good boundary because it's all ice and nobody freaking hell wants to go there. Nobody wants to explore it, not really. And they say, and it's the governments that have actually gone to the other side and has found this valuable item that is the reason why they want to sell you this round Earth theory,
There's nothing
so
to
that
see
no
here.
one else will get to those things. And it's the 5 most powerful countries that are the ones that actually know and keep that information, which is another reason why they want to try and keep other countries and private people out of the space
Wait, so
Antarctic
exploration.
Treaty is what
then I
you're
guess
you're referring
it's
to as the
something that I've
Antarctic Treaty.
completely misunderstood about the flat Earth concept. So the idea is that everything that we know, like Japan, Australia, they're on the same side of
Yes,
the
everything's on the
pancake.
same side. Yeah,
Really?
everything is on top of the
Yeah.
table.
I don't know if I make that harder to
So-
believe or more
So
likely
I'll
to
show you.
believe.
I'll show you, Adam. I'll show
Okay.
you the easiest way to understand it. Right. I wish I had a pen. So you take if you're going in a circle from Japan to California to uh, from Japan to California, across the U.S. to Africa, back to Asia, back to Middle East and Asia, you're going in this circle here. You're not going in this circle here.
Okay.
So
So
they
I
base
would
it off of flight lines. How when if you were fly to from like Cali to Alaska to I don't know. I haven't flown internationally, so I can't speak to that. But there is documented flight lines that you fly up and over instead of around, which
okay.
doesn't match the spherical Earth. And at no
So
point do you fly. You can fly up over like North Pole in that area. Well, not North Pole, but northern. But you don't fly over the
Here, let me.
Antarctic.
I got an
so
image. Hold on, I
so
got an image.
with the theory that we're lying about the shape of the Earth, because that's another big problem I have, is this is a really big conspiracy
Hey, can you see that or
for,
no?
yep,
That's the idea.
that
Yeah.
would have no
Well,
benefit
slightly.
of like why would people not want to know that like why does what in every major conspiracy that really exists there is a compelling reason for people to lie to us, right? It's typically money,
Right. Right.
power or something.
Right.
I would argue that the issue with your theory that it's because there's something on the other side of the planet that these governing bodies don't want us to know about is that we've been saying that the world is round long before a lot of those governing parties existed and could have gone and discovered this thing that they don't want anybody to
Well,
know about.
true.
So then why were we saying that the
True.
world was round way back then?
Egyptians
That's
be
where you
crazy.
get into that's where you get into things like families and powers before they were became like governments. And once again, that's up for debate with like the Jesuits and
Gotcha.
an ideology or mindset. The long game of we go to public school. We've been to public school, but we also understand that there are families that are in private educations and Montessori's and things of that nature that grandparents and parents before them have run countries and they are in an elite level of power and acceptance that dictate the laws and rules to the people that are out the common people. They base that
I
off
want
of there there's a little how do you say dot connection, no pun intended, to
and
why
that
there's a push of
and that
heliocentric versus flat.
and that dot connection includes all the private entities that we know of that have been to space that would have then also had to have been involved in the conspiracy to continue
Well,
the lie.
NASA's a private entity. Yeah, NASA's private. It's not NASA's private, just funded by the government. NASA's not a government agency. It's private.
Okay, then who
They
runs
do
it?
receive grants.
Huh?
They do receive grants from the government, so I guess
Yeah,
it kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
everything is paid
yeah.
for by the government. All their money comes from the government, right? I mean, who? It's like a private corporation. I don't understand. How's it a private?
NASA's
It's a
like the Federal
nonprofit.
Reserve.
Okay,
Power of the LLC. No,
so
Power
okay,
secret.
I
No,
mean that.
I kid.
So it's a private entity that these powers to be have forced to lie to us. But what about like Virgin? Right? They send shit up into space all on their own on a regular basis. What
Yeah, but they all
the?
have to be approved by the government.
So
No, I don't think
here's
do they.
here's an understanding that was
Yeah.
shopped around that is out there. So I can be a top ranking official in the government. I cannot moonlight with any type of entity or corporation because I do this government. Once I retire, I could then start up a private company and get government grants.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like Elon Musk, he's
My
not getting
interest,
any government funding, and he's going up into space on a regular basis, and coming
yeah,
back
I mean,
and
why not?
lying to everybody too. What would be his like? Does he get a? He's like
you
the
know,
richest person on the. Yeah, I mean, he's got all this money, and he's
yeah,
not.
the dude is uprooting. Yeah, he's uprooting Las Vegas Boulevard and building a train station. I've seen it
Yeah,
with my own eyes.
and he also has a
He's
monopoly
literally
on the web, the internet shopping, whatever. And he's one of the
power,
richest,
man.
most most richest people in the country.
Right. So all the more reason why he wouldn't need these 5 entities, like why would he need to lie for them? He's got
No,
everything he needs.
not maybe it's not that he needs them to lie or he needs to lie for them, but maybe he got his power because they agreed.
But we know that that's not true. He got his power by being really. I mean, like
from the future. He's a time traveler.
He started a delivery company. Like the powers that be were the ones who like told him start the delivery company. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I don't know that he started.
Yeah, I know you can just laugh at that perspective from it, but yeah, I don't know his business workings. I
do. He started the
I know his
delivery
business workings,
company and then got investors and got them to believe in the idea of losing money for like 15 years so that they could build the infrastructure for what he ultimately wanted to do because it would pay off, and he was right. And I mean, I don't see how any of that would require a cabal to make that happen. You know what I mean? Let's just like innovative thinking.
That's the thing. He can be utilized
as he was getting more popular, as he was deciding whether he wanted to try and do this space thing, maybe they came and talked to him.
Yeah, you get utilized.
Okay,
it's not impossible. I'm just saying the guy's powerful enough that even if they came and talked to him, he could say, "Bite me, I don't need you."
Okay, listen to this. Which countries have been to the moon? The United States, Russia, China, Japan, EU. The big 5. All right.
They've all been to the moon?
Yes.
Like landed on it, or have just gone there?
Sometimes they didn't necessarily have their own ship, but those are the people that have actually sent people.
Oh, like they've sent astronauts, so to speak.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Largest country economies: United States, China, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom.
Right. People that can afford to do it.
Right. What I'm saying is that there's this, that they got that economies going by some fictional thing that they found on the other side of the earth.
But that doesn't but that doesn't fit the argument that a lot of those entities didn't exist when we started calling the planet round. And so,
but they have perpetuated the lie.
But why? I mean, why did the lie get started in the first place?
It's the Santa Claus concept.
It's the same power. It's the same power struggle. People that are in power that have the information keep it from the people that don't.
Right. Okay.
So the adults tell the children that Santa Claus is real.
Antarctica is the perfect. Was it Antarctica is the perfect place?
Antarctica.
This path to the other side to be hidden because it's so hard. They also didn't have the resources to penetrate that in the time periods that you're talking about. The countries that you're talking about have gone down there and explored, but that was like during World War II era time that they did that, not Christopher Columbus time that they did that. They wouldn't have had the boats.
Oh, there were cartographers that mapped out. Yeah, there were. There were cartographers that mapped out.
And all their maps are flat.
They did not explore Antarctica.
Bro.
No, they did not.
Bro, there are maps that go back to.
Sure, and they get based on a round system. They're like, okay, you see this big patch of ice that we just ran into? You run into a big patch of ice from over here. You build a round globe with a fucking big ass piece of ice right here because we can go all the way around that big piece of ice, right? So we're just gonna assume it's ice like all the way to the fucking tip of the sphere. You ever watch
Game of Thrones? It's the ice wall. It's the ice wall.
Right, but what I'm saying is people in Christopher Columbus's time did not get on to Antarctica and fucking go to the center. They did not have the clothes to keep them from dying. They didn't have the
first map to show Antarctica was 1513.
Yeah.
To show it, not that you can show something without exploring it.
How do you?
I mean, the United States was not. Massive parts of the United States weren't explored until Lewis and Clark started off from St. Louis and went all the way to the fucking coast. United States wasn't not on a fucking map before that. It just wasn't detailed because nobody explored the inside of it. Like you can put Antarctica on a map without getting out and fucking walking its entirety on foot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I understand that logic, but that's not the case when you can't apply that to the cartographers that mapped Antarctica at a time when you say that we could not go that far. We could,
We barely
and they
could
did.
in World War II times. I mean, according to y'all's thing, they obviously did it, but like the Nazis even tried to build a fucking secret base down there, and they fucking abandoned the idea because even then they couldn't get it done because of the harshness of the fucking environment down there. And now you're trying to tell me Christopher Columbus in his fucking hand woven shoes fucking got down there and fucking give me a break.
I
It
think
didn't
no.
happen.
So let's look at
Right.
the facts and the logic. Right, there is footage from Antarctica. There's documented footage that does not show harsh climate.
Footage.
It
You're
actually
talking about
shows,
video or
yeah,
photography footage
video
because none of
footage.
those would have existed in the time period that you're talking about.
World War II, World War
No,
One. We had
not
video
World War II.
cameras in
I'm
World
not
War
talking.
II.
I said we were down there during World War II.
Well,
That's
you
what
say the
I'm saying.
Nazis
Y'all are
couldn't build a
saying that it
base
was
down there.
hundreds of years prior to that when we started saying that the world was the globe is had to have been when somebody discovered this shit that we decided we needed to make a world conspiracy lie about in order to hide the shit that was on the
The
other
ice
side
wall.
of it. Otherwise, there would have been
The ice wall.
no
Aliens.
reason.
Aliens, dog. Aliens.
That has to be it.
So think about it like this, right? It's not just the ice wall. So there's a map probably out in existence, right? But there is the Earth, or what we call the planet, keyword plane with a T, the crosshairs, north, south, east, and west. That's what we call the T is silent. But when you look at the map, that ice wall, it goes out as far as land goes. And what is the concept, the theory, or to those who may have the information, I don't possess that, is that ice wall drops off into other places, other lands. So you have footage of Antarctica where you have mountains, lakes, not this harsh terrain that the Nazis, like you say, couldn't build their base on or something, that they left their base. No, this base is still there. We've been on Antarctica
Oh, there's
for
bases still
hundreds of
there.
years.
Because I just watched some shit
Yeah.
from like
That's
a
what you say.
year
You
ago
can't.
where they proved that the pictures that
No,
we have of the shit that the Nazis started building are proof that it's like nothing other than like a big metal door that they were going to use to start building their shit and abandoned because
no,
they
they're
couldn't
not.
fucking get
Yeah,
it done.
The door to the other side, dog.
not.
It's the
No,
door
no.
to the other side
There's.
that's been there for
Yeah.
for
This is.
800 years, despite the fact that we
You
didn't
can take. You can
have
take
So we had to
the
stop the
ability to
Nazis.
create the door that
That's
long
why we
ago.
had to stop the Nazis.
That's why. That's where
same
the
shit we did
aliens
with the
come into
moon.
place.
They took a
Optimus
play out of
Prime is
our book
down
with
there
Stanley Kubrick,
guarding that shit.
allegedly, based on Steve what's that guy name? Crap. Area
Right.
S4. What's his name? Reverse engineered the crap. My brain, man. Oh
I don't know
man.
what we're talking about.
S4 Area 51. Bob Lazar. Based on
All right.
Lazar, our technology comes from an archaeological dig in Antarctica where we found all this stuff. That's why we've been able to advance.
See? On the outskirts, on the edge.
The outskirts.
Yeah.
Antarctica.
I would just. All right. So we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Welcome
Hold on, I got
to the other
one more
side.
for you.
Okay.
One more.
All right.
One more for you. So to
All right.
support my it's gotta be aliens, dog, is that
Velcro.
we have a map showing Antarctica in something like 1516. All right. Well, it is well known that we didn't even like see the shore, like actual people or whatever didn't even see the shore until like 1800 and something, 1820, by
Because it would've
American
been
seal
ice.
hunters and British and Russian explorers. So we didn't even see it until 1820, but yet there's maps showing the shoreline in 1516, I think it was. So
Because
how do you know it was there?
So wait, you're getting on the internet. You're saying that Antarctica was not discovered until the 1800s.
Right, right.
it's been there. It's been
And
there.
it's been there, and it's been shown on maps. That's
They
information.
have wood and like trees that Antarctica had at one point in time, like forest, and
1513
it is
was the
they've
first one.
done a lot of archaeological work, scientific work in Antarctica.
I'm
And
just saying a
around
lot of
on the edge.
mapping is done by assuming what's there until we know what's there. That happens all the time.
Oh yeah, you mean the sea serpents that we have that were on all the maps in the 1800s?
Uh-huh. What about
There was sea in those areas that we didn't like discover or hadn't been there. There was like demons and sea serpents drawn there.
okay.
Dragons,
Dragons.
Godzilla.
I don't know how I don't know what point that makes in the argument.
They
That's not
guard
there.
they guard the ice wall.
Right. Did they yeah, so when they're guessing on the map because they
Like,
don't know like
well,
it's
let's put a
sometimes they
dragon
guess
right
right
here.
and sometimes they guess wrong. They use the knowledge that they have in the time period to assume what's there and what's not. Sometimes they have enough knowledge to assume correctly, and sometimes they assume it's a fucking sea serpent and they get it wrong.
So here's what they did. So here's what they did. They were mapping out Antarctica and like, you know what'll be cool right here? Flames, dragons. And one guy was like, I'm gonna put a fire. Sit your stupid ass down and shut up. You know, we put
One
dragons.
guy said,
So-
that's really far away from the center of the earth where it's the hottest. I'm going to put ice because I think that makes the most sense of what would be the furthest away from the
Nope.
equator.
No,
Well,
the,
there's a science
the
behind that.
aliens came to the Egyptians and they made the maps, showed them
Right.
the maps, and said,
All
"Keep
right.
this shit quiet."
And to
So
finally
when
wrap
you
all
look
this,
at your sphere,
this is way
you
more than
have
one more thing, by
you
the
have
way.
a solid line around the earth that's a desert. When you look at Africa, the largest, one of the largest continents on this planet, right? A solid line, which we call the equator, which should map a desert on the other side if it's
Circle
ball,
is what we
a
have.
circle, right? A circle, because there's circles, there's round, there's balls, So when you look at elevation, the higher up you go, the colder it gets, right?
There's no up. We only call it up because that's the way we've drawn the
North, we can
globe.
call it north. Okay.
Okay.
Well, north based on a plane. See, that's why you spell it plane, Planet.
Just
That's
saying
your
the
directional compass.
up on a globe is only
Up
up
is
because we've decided that that's the top. It could be the side. It could be anywhere. It's a globe.
up is out based off of the plane. This is up. This can be
Oh,
north.
okay.
This is
Okay. So you're
up.
saying
This is
up.
north.
Okay. All
The
right.
higher you go in
Oh,
elevation,
okay.
it gets
Okay.
colder, right?
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the further away from the equator.
So
Yes.
higher elevation, right? As you think of a plane, but then you look in 3D, three dimensions,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the higher up you go, the colder it'll get in elevation.
Right.
My fingertips are at the lowest point of elevation, right? So it's close to the proverbial line, the equator. Therefore, it's hotter. The heat comes from below. As you get higher, the heat dissipates. You have mountains, snow cap, less
Wind.
oxygen, no
Right.
forest, rocks.
A lot
Lower
more wind.
at a certain degree, you get oxygen. You get
Yeah.
greenish foliage. If you look at a map of South America and you remove all the streets and you just see the actual pushing of the plates, where you have on one side you have Argentina, you have a higher elevation where you have little to no foliage or trees. You have all rocks and mountainous plateaus. You have desert lands, and you go down. You get on the other side, which is the Amazon. Rio de Janeiro. You have forest. The elevation is higher on one side, less oxygen. It's colder, more snow cap. You can still get snow cap on a low elevation. We just saw snow here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But the oxygen level, trees that just flourish and grow, the higher up is not going to be there. So when you look at that ice wall, that higher elevation, you shouldn't see pictures of lakes and trees and things like that, but there's video footage that is evident from, what was it, World War, Admiral Byrd and those cats when they went down there. They're sitting there just like those astronauts sat there with the cameras out in space. They're sitting there showing footage of lakes and mountains.
I've never seen that. Every footage I've seen is a frozen fucking
just
Death
yeah.
Island of
It's
fucking
not
ice.
like South Dakota in the winter. No, no, it's not. It's not a frozen South Dakota in the winter. There's mountains and lakes and things like that. Yeah, look.
Antarctica. I've never. That's
That's
never.
where the
I've never seen
dinosaurs
that.
went.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe
Yes,
at some
sir.
point. All right. So the last thing I will say on it is, if my ignorant ass, without any of the math and science that like a fucking biologist or a fucking somebody in what's the math that not geometry
Trigonometry.
Geology.
Parsecs. You measuring?
God damn it.
Astrophysicist.
Sure. Anyways, people much smarter than me that would know the fucking word I'm looking for right now. Um, without the math that they would have on hand to prove why all of this shit, I mean that would be on top of all of the fucking very decent arguments I made for why this is nonsensical and bullshit.
Yes,
And I'm not
aliens.
even somebody that can make the arguments as well as a well-educated person can.
Yes, prove aliens.
And I think the best anybody has been able to do on this show is point out something that cannot be disproven, not something that is proven. And I can
Well,
come up with something
what
that
is
it can't
proven.
be disproven to make any fucking thing you want to imagine true.
Well, here's what is proven. It is proven that we can see the molecular world on a microscope, right? It's proven, right?
Okay.
It is also proven that our minds and then it glitches based off of the given collective information. We can only go so far. So you try to comprehend us as the molecular world, given the heliocentric model, take that and go out in its infinity, right? Not infinite as in infinite, but infinite. You picture in your mind, you look at a molecular world on a dish on a microscope, zoom out to the dish on the microscope, on the table, in a room, in a building, in a
Yeah, but
city, in a state, and
I can
then
also
keep pushing your mind out to where we then become molecular.
yeah, but I can do that. I
What
can
is
make
that
that
outside
same
of that?
I can make that same push and picture an atom under the microscope, which is a
Right,
fucking sphere. On
right.
a dish under a
A, le- a, le-
microscope in a laboratory, and it's still
so
fucking
so so
sphere.
so therefore you can contain a sphere on a flat surface.
Yes, you can.
Exactly my point. It's where you get the universe, which is one verse, compile multiple verses. You now have a multiverse
Yeah.
to where you can, instead of
Hey,
going
is
left,
there
right, back and
is,
forth, you
is
now can
there
go at
is there
angles.
a film that the planet is sitting on that somebody's looking through on a microscope that we can't see?
We don't
Sure,
know.
It's
It
called
could be.
dark
Could be.
energy,
sure it's
dark
possible,
energy.
but it wouldn't change the fact that the Earth is a fucking sphere sitting on a petri dish. I mean, it's still round.
Yes, it is round. That's why you
It's
call it a
still
merry-go-round. It's not a
it's
merry-go-sphere.
still a sphere.
Boom.
All right. So thank God we're done with that.
I just thought I was going to be on your side too.
I prefer when people
Shout
aren't. It
out
makes it a whole
Flat
lot
Earth.
more interesting. It's the point of the show. So I'm glad it wasn't a bunch of people teaming up on the person who thought the nonsensical idea. It makes it a whole lot more fun. All right. So, and we covered it all. We went 15 minutes over the 30 allotted time, so nobody can say I didn't give everybody all of the fucking nonsense that they could spit out. All right. So the last thing, anybody, I mean, I'm talking real quick before anything we missed. Anybody wants to spit before? Okay. All right. Then the last thing is the movie, and last week we picked No Country for Old Men, which is a great movie that pisses me off every time I watch it. And so I don't. I mean, I don't. It's a movie. Everybody knows what. Like you've seen it or you haven't. We're gonna talk about it. Everybody's gonna get their 2 minutes. I don't think Dot's gone first, so I'll let Dot have his 2 minutes of what he thinks about the movie, and then we will, you know, argue. So Dot, it's on you go.
Well, um, taking the title, I understood it as far as like when you look at the end of the movie. He's the old man, and the life he lived is no country for him. Well, is no country once you get to that point of old man. You know, um, the assassin dude, he I was I when I looked at it, I looked at the fact of what y'all said at the ending because I'd never seen it. So I looked at the movie in its entirety to try to see what is about the ending. I'm just going through it, waiting on the ending, and I summed it up as dope film. Um, I would have just you know dipped off with the money and made it as what it was. But I think that I think it was a great film. I think it was in his mind, in Tommy Lee Jones' mind, uh, the conversation with his uh, about his dad is the important thing to sum up the film. I mean, the violence and the killing and the shootouts, and great Tarantino esque, I guess, like style footage or style, bang bang. But I think that the the end part of the movie is more so about him realizing that his him coming to terms with he can't do it anymore, but he's gonna have to. Well, not he's gonna have to, but it's not his time. It's not his time for him to give it up yet. If that makes sense
Okay,
from
Victor, what?
from my pick on it. But it's a good film. But I mean,
Okay,
I just go on with the conversation about the dream about his dad or something with the about him waiting his dad being at the end waiting for him and he's like I just gotta wake up
yeah,
and then I wake up and it cuts out. I think that speaks to what the film is about, like him coming to terms with what's going on, and it is what it is. What was that? His old former captain,
hmm
the
Oh
one
yeah,
that doesn't that he was talking to, and he was kind of like giving him a self check on it, like you know this shit been gangster. It's not just about you. It's been gangster. Before you. It's been some. Bang bang. It's been this way. It's not just special to you.
yeah. All right, Victor, what you got for us?
it was good cinematically, great movie. Didn't like it at all. One of those things that not your cup of tea, not my cup of tea. I
All
want to
right,
see a classic Western with a shootout at the end. I want the good guy to win and the bad guy to lose. I understand that's not the world, and that's what they're trying to say is that this is the
Right.
world that we live in. And there was a whole lot of symbolism throughout the movie, the meaningless of death, the unavoidability of death, uh, the chance of death. Doesn't matter what you do, your death is going to catch up with you. And playing the game. We should have talked about Eminem right before this because it's straight up Eminem. The freaking you're either hungry or you should retire. You're either after the game, you're after the
Mm.
money, or you should go ahead and start riding horses. You know,
Because there's no country. This is no country for old men.
that's what I'm
Hence
saying.
the
That's
title.
what I'm saying. So, and they have that, and then they have like the God parable at the end. My father goes before me to set a place at
Then
the
with the
table.
with
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and then the representation is basically Jesus is the sheriff, where if you come to me, I will protect you. You know, and give up the game, give up that life. And this is the young dude with the money is everybody in their life trying to get that money, trying to get that popularity, trying to get that success,
yeah.
trying to get a piece for yourself, and that hunger and the chasing and death is always around the corner. He's running you down. He's running you down. The further you try and get away, the closer he's getting. and so I liked it, but I didn't like it. I want a nice, easy. I mean, I understand. I get the idea, and it's supposed to be more thought provoking and crap like that. I like old westerns. Clint Eastwood kills the guy at the end, walks away. So there was that. Was it the what'd you say, the masturbation without ejaculation? That's what that was.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
All right. So I do really like the movie. I mean, it's well written. The scenes are great. Like the hitman, the cartel guy is fucking awesome. My favorite scene I think in the whole movie is the scene with the old guy at the gas station that he's like just got like trembling in his, like he can't even answer this most simplest of questions, and he, like, he ultimately flips a coin whether to kill the guy or not. You don't even know if the guy ever even realizes that's what happened because he's so funny. I love that scene. I love that actor. He's great, and I think this is one of his best roles. The whole thing with the maybe there's like some metaphorical reason for it that makes it not so ridiculous, but his fucking killing utensil or whatever the fuck
One
the,
bullet, the bullet. What do you call that?
it's the thing they slaughter cows and pigs
Yeah,
and
the
shit
one
with.
bullet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
an air bolt gun.
it's not.
Air
Yeah, it's not even a
Bolt,
bullet,
a
right?
bolt.
The thing just goes in and comes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's
It's
a
a
bullet.
bolt
It's a bolt.
action.
yeah,
Bolt action.
It's
Shit.
an air
I know.
powered
Yeah.
bolt gun.
yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous that
Hmm.
he carries that shit around, and
Yeah.
like there more than one scene. I know there's at least one where he like he tells the cop to stand still while he fucking shoots him in the head with it. Like how fucking I mean maybe you could make that happen once or twice before the person realizes what's going on, but I mean, is it legitimate that there's an assassin that walks around using that shit all the fucking time? I mean, that seems a little ridiculous. Um,
It was supposed. I don't know for sure, but it sounded like it was a symbol for like a sickle of death. Like
okay.
he carries around his weapon all over the place.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, they, like I said, they
Yeah.
do use it in slaughterhouses. So like, it's like, people going to the slaughter or something. I don't know, but it does seem nonsensical that like the assassin of the cartel would have such a unpractical murder, like tool. It is, and it seems
Yeah.
to be the
The
only thing that he
symbolism of
uses.
death.
I mean,
Hey,
does he
that tool
kill?
was good for all sorts of crap. It got used
Does he
to
kill?
kill people.
Does he kill anybody? Like, does he use anything else throughout the whole movie to kill
A
anybody?
silenced shotgun. That was
Oh, that's
crazy.
right. Yeah. All right.
That was pretty cool. I
Still,
didn't know you could silence a shotgun. That was amazing.
I always enjoy watching the movie. I will forever hate. It's the Coen brothers, right? Is that
Yeah,
made
cool.
it? Yeah. Um, I mean, the fact that they build the entire movie to the idea that you're going to see this big fucking match off between the badass cowboy and the badass cartel hitman. Because I mean, let's be fair, the guy with the money, he's a badass. You know what I mean? Like from Get, like he's always kind of in control of everything, and he fucks. I mean, like he's a bad motherfucker. He's not your average Joe on the street. You know what I mean? And like,
Right.
yeah, and they're like totally building to this clash of titans, right? It's
And yeah.
inevitable. There's nothing that's gonna stop the fact that, I mean, you at this point, even if the guy gave the money back, that's not gonna matter anymore, right? Like it has gotten to the point where these two motherfuckers are gonna square off, and what's gonna happen, and you don't see it. I mean, come on, like I know they did it on purpose, and it's supposed to be some fucking genius way to fucking make a movie. I tell you what would have been genius is watching those motherfuckers go at each other. I would have liked to have seen that. That would have been fucking cool as shit. I can't believe that you just get to see like the cops leaving the fucking scene of the crime at the end. I mean, come on. Like every time I watch the movie, I know it's gonna happen, and I'm still disappointed at the end. Like what? It drives me crazy every time. Aside from that, I mean, that's got to be honestly my biggest complaint. The rest of the movie, I like it. I mean, it's great acting, it's great writing. What's his name? The other, the sheriff, he's great. I mean, he normally is. I mean, it's not like that's a surprise or anything. But he plays the role perfect, and I agree. He's like a guy. This guy kind of coming towards the end and like realizing that this, like how does he do what he's always done in a world that's different than what he's decided the world's supposed to be, and they grew up in, and like, y'all were talking about that stuff in the very beginning of the movie. He talks about how, his whole family have been lawmen, and that, growing up, they would tell stories about how they never pulled a weapon, shot a weapon, that a lot of them never even carried weapons, right? Like that they did their whole job without even needing a gun. And now obviously he's in a world where that's not, logical anymore, right? It's changed quite, yeah.
And you caught that was like bullshit anyways, though, right? I mean, that's what the whole thing was. It was like, you ever you tell stories that wake, you only tell the good stories, and the longer and longer and longer after somebody dies, you only remember the good shit. That was the same thing. That's what that I guess his cousin or whatever, he went to go see the old man in that old house by himself. The old man sets him straight. He's like, it was never good. There was never,
That was when that is retired.
Killed indiscriminately all the time. Yeah.
Sure. Well, which is absolutely true. I mean, look, I mean, that's just an ongoing thing in life where people always talk about the good old days. And then the truth of the matter is, like, on a grand scheme of things, like as time passes, almost inevitably 10 years from now, just like 10 years before, it's a safer, easier world to live in than it's ever been before. Like living.
That's what the whole movie was.
No, what I'm saying is it gets better. It doesn't get worse, right? From 10 years from now, it'll be better than it is. Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
That's the whole thing. It doesn't get better. It's the same as it always was. That's what the whole movie is about, is that it just, you think it's better because you're older. You think it used to be better. You think it's
you think now. I'm saying, right? People think it used to be better, and the truth is, it's the opposite of that. Things are better now than they were 10 years ago. I mean, the life expectancy now is better than it was, right? The chances of you randomly getting killed or having to deal with a violent scenario is significantly less than it used to be. I mean, it is a much more peaceful, organized planet now than it was 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, 50 years before that was crazier than it was. Like, as time continues, we live longer, we live safer, more productive lives. That's always been the truth. Like, as time continues, the opposite of what
with coronavirus, buddy.
That's not even true. I mean, we've had plagues and viruses throughout history. This is nowhere near the worst of it. Now, that said, that has nothing to do with time.
I like that. It's true.
It is true, but that has nothing to do with the passing of time. I mean, very easily it could have been a much worse virus that could have been just as bad as the Black Plague. Things like that we don't have any control over. But how we behave as humans and our ability to, live longer, more productive lives, it continues to get better as time passes over and over again. And so it's the opposite of what people say when they're reminiscing.
Except for biblical times when they lived like hundreds of years.
Look, I think there some of the stuff can be accurate without the grand picture being true, right? Like, I think police officers might have been able to use their guns less often, but where were they a police officer, right? I mean, if you're talking about, in New York or in some tiny little town that, I mean, like it's all relevant, right? But in the grand picture of things absolutely get better. I think anybody running for president, I'm not going to say names, who and a lot of them do this, right? Like, we're going to take it back to, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's never a good idea. Taking it back is never going to make things better than they are right now. If you look at things on a grand scheme, going back is never the right answer. We're always making progress, and things are always better.
I don't think it's about technology or medicine or any of that. It's talking about the human.
Even then, I mean, we were not better people.
Better now? You think people as a human race were better morally than we were 50 years ago?
Yes, when segregation was barely a thing we had just gotten rid of, and
Did you
yeah,
not pay attention to
absolutely.
the last election? I
What's
mean,
that?
it's still there. It's still there. It's not like it's gone anywhere. It's
Oh,
still
right.
there.
So when we shouldn't care about progress. Is if we can't eliminate a thing, we haven't made any progress, right? I
Well,
mean
I'm just
that's
saying
I
the
an
idea
love
that
it.
argument
it's
that
not
I
people
there
love
is
it.
falsely make.
ignorant.
What's that?
The idea that it's not there is ignorant. Like the
Nobody's saying
idea
It's
they're
it's
still
not,
there.
there. People are
but
still
nobody's making
evil.
that
Not
argument. You're
better.
right. It would be an ignorant
It's
argument if
actually
anybody was
worse.
trying to make it. I mean, I
It's
could
actually
I
worse.
could say things that are ignorant that you haven't said as well, but that doesn't pertain to what we're talking about. Like I've never suggested that racism has gone away, but to suggest that
We even said it
it's
was
not
left.
better now when we don't own slaves just because we haven't gotten rid of racism, that's ignorant as well, right? Like, are you saying we might as well go
Yeah, we
back to
had
slavery because
presidential
what's the
slavery
But
at
difference,
the same
we're
time.
talking about the human condition, not the
right?
results from it. I mean, to think
Okay.
that the
Right.
racist thoughts are not there. The racist thoughts are still there, but some of the actions aren't socially acceptable.
That's not progress.
Well, here's the reason why is because
But
the
it's not
racist
gone away.
thoughts became
Nobody's saying that it
action,
has. We're saying that it's
became a
better. How
systematic
could
way of life.
But y'all are injecting arguments that nobody's trying to make. I'm not trying to say we're perfect.
But
What you're saying is, you're asking me, do I literally believe that as human beings, we aren't better than we were 50 or 100 years ago? Like, yes, we are better human beings. Even if
As
we're
far
not
as
perfect, we are so much further along than we were 50 years ago
as
that
in
makes
how?
us better.
As in how? Like you mean like as far as like living conditions or mindsets or
Yeah, all of
uh,
those things, all of those things. Like
hmm,
the fact that what is considered acceptable now
hmm,
as far as how you treat
hmm.
people based on them looking different, acting different, having different genitalia, being from a different religion. If you can't say, if you're going to honestly sit here and try to say that because we haven't fixed the problem, that it's not better than it was 50 years ago, you're lying to yourself. I mean, that's just not true. We know that it's
That's
better.
I'm not
perspective.
trying to say that it's not.
It's
That's
Haven't
perspective,
made
fact.
and
It's a
we
who's it
haven't
better
fact.
made
for?
we haven't made
Everybody.
things that are better. But what I'm saying is that there's still those, because again, the movie was about the human condition, not necessarily what we do. Matter of fact, it even said that a lot of the stuff that we do in our lives don't really matter because everything comes up to a flip of a coin anyways. But what I'm saying is that the human
Right.
condition is still
Definitely
there.
not
There's
true.
still evil people. There's still people that think evil thoughts. I mean, no matter what you do about a community or society, there's still going to be those people that are inertly evil.
And
That
are they the
doesn't,
ones that have the power or not?
none of that translates into things are exactly the same as they were before. Everything that you're saying can be true, and yet we can still be way better off than we were before, because one thing requires that something be completely eliminated in order for you to say that any progress has been made, and another, I would say, more accurate idea is that just because you haven't eliminated a problem doesn't mean that you haven't reduced the significance of that problem. And reducing the significance of a problem is by definition progress. I mean, even like you don't
Well,
have to.
okay.
That's like saying
I
I'm
see what you
climbing a
mean. I
mountain
see what you mean.
and I've only gotten halfway there. I haven't made any progress because I'm not at the top of the mountain. You have made progress. You're just not where you would like to be yet.
I see your perspective, but here's the thing. The reduction of the problem, right? You're looking at where we were, seeing the problem, looking at where we are now, that problem doesn't or visually exist per se, maybe,
I'm not
right?
saying it doesn't
But
visually
you can
exist.
you can art you can identify well you can identify with the reduction in the issue from where we are and where we are at now.
I mean, from a factual
That
standpoint, if
you
you
know
look at the conditions of people that were taken advantage of then and
conditions, right?
now, they are not as
Okay.
bad as they were. If that isn't progress,
It
then what?
well here's the
Because if
thing.
you're just looking for a flip of
That's
the
the
switch,
point.
that
It's the
will never
perspective.
happen.
Thank you for saying flip of the switch. Exactly the point. We had a light on that showed everything that was going on. You could see the problem. it went from the foreground, the light turned out and went to the background. So now that, yeah, we don't have the segregation, we don't see whites only and blacks only, we don't see this. This is not there. We've evolved to where everybody's included. That's just the flip of the switch. The light just went out. The problem is still there. It's just dark in the room now. Everything
Nobody's
is there's still
again. Y'all keep
place.
suggesting that because
There's
a
still a
problem still
mindset. There's still
exists, you
evil.
can't have made progress with that problem. The
evil.
the
How did the dude in the wheelchair tell him? It's been going on. The evil has been here before you. It's
nobody's arguing that they haven't. Y'all are keep coming at me like I'm trying to suggest that the problem is gone, when what I'm suggesting is that the problem's not as bad as it used to be. Those are two different things. I'm not saying that the problem doesn't exist. I'm not saying that the problem ever didn't exist. I'm saying we have made massive amounts of progress to making the problem not as bad as it used to be. And anybody who suggests that you think that today is worse than slavery times, that's crazy. Well, how could anybody possibly say that what we have today?
I didn't say. You said 50 years ago. I didn't say slavery time. Slavery. I grew up talking to children of slaves, like in Florida.
Right.
I can tell you.
So okay, fine. To avoid going off on a really long thing that doesn't matter. So you're right. There wasn't slavery 50 years ago. You're thinking that the way people were treated is not better today than it was 50 years ago. What was 50 years ago is what? Where are we? 1970. You don't think things are better than they were in 1970?
Minorities now? There's not impoverished minorities that are taking advantage.
You're going to the. Are you telling me that we've completely fixed the problem because otherwise we haven't made any progress? No, I'm not saying that there aren't people of my minority that are dealing with hardship. I'm not saying that. I've never tried to say that. And I think the implication that I'm saying that pisses me off because I haven't even remotely said anything close to that.
Don't get pissed off. We're positively just being disagreeable, but I'll give you an example to show the other side. We'll show the other side, right? So when you did have the segregation, right? When you did have life to where things were segregated.
Yeah, it was. I think. Yeah.
You also had something else that existed. Now, mind you, my mother grew up during segregation, so my father also. So I tell the stories from both ends, per se. So when you look at what actually was going on before integration, you had a lot of successful. And I hate using the word minority because you can't be the minority when you're technically the majority. So before you had integration, you had segregation where there were black-owned communities, businesses, shops, and different things that were going on in these communities that were thriving. And then you had the integration where these things were dismantled. The unity that you had was way better then than the unity you have now. So it just depends on what perspective you're looking at it from.
I don't know that. I don't necessarily agree with that.
When you look at the house, this is what I'm telling you. You can look into the data. Look into the data. Look into the history.
The communities were better when they were separate but equal. I mean, is that what you're suggesting?
No, what I'm saying is that you had more businesses, more black business owners. They own stores, they own grocery stores, they own shops, they own land.
You're saying that there were more black-owned businesses 50 years ago than there are today?
In certain
when you had segregation in the communities, when you had segregation,
if you tie it down to like one city, maybe, but not as a countrywide number. That's no way.
No, bro. When you got to look at it, man. This is what I'm telling you.
I mean, just for the sheer magnitude of the amount of people on the planet compared to 50 years ago, that number would be ridiculous.
The planet and the laws that America placed upon its people is completely in contrast to the rest of the planet. So when what I'm explaining is you're talking to someone who grew up in the South, Florida, and the example I like to use is that as a kid I grew up driving up I-95 and going through streets and highways, looking out the window and seeing actual slave plantations. kids now growing up seeing shopping centers,
I mean, there's
right?
still slave plantations in a lot of those
Right,
places.
but what I'm saying is, if you and a buddy of mine, he said he grew up on the South Side. He's like I was explaining to him what it's like to grow up in the South, like in the 80s, and to look at these things and learn from people who were 60 and 70 years old in the
Right.
80s, early 80s, right?
How
So what it is,
different
he
things
had
are.
no idea. Yeah, he
Yeah,
had no
good.
idea. He's like, I didn't know that existed. I didn't even right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can gain information from these people that can help kind of paint a different picture from what
Sure.
you're accustomed to. So what I'm saying is, in conjunction to you, that 50 years ago things are better than they are. Things are better now than they were 50 years ago. It's just going to depend on the perspective of the person, because to families 50 years ago who had clothing companies, who made clothes for black people, who made clothes for other nationalities of people that were went out of business because of integration. You have all these things that went on in America during segregation, during its dark times. I mean, during segregation, that fell with the rise of integration. So it's just the it's going to be better for who is a thing.
Okay, and you're not wrong, right? Because certainly, if you're looking at it from an individual standpoint or a small community standpoint, yeah, I mean, through different periods, I mean, there are people that you can go and
Small
talk
community.
to.
Look at Gary, Indiana. You
Still,
could
I mean,
look at these Central
you're still
Park. I
talking.
mean, I won't say Central Park, but I'm
You're
not.
still talking about small portions of a very large community, and yes, of course, throughout history, there are going to be times where you can find
How
even
is it small
minorities that
portions? Go
small. I
ahead,
mean,
because I don't see.
even a state, depending on the state, you're talking about like 100th of the percentage of the entire country. That's not a small percentage, and
It's
that's an
it's
entire
still
state.
physically it's still physically the same place.
200.
It's still physically the same place,
Okay.
just in a different time,
Uh-huh.
to where blanket laws were in place. The actual laws of segregation were in place.
Okay.
So you had to have a sustainment of both of both levels of community, not this just one where it's fused. So you have some people that are wealthy based on what you worked on. You can have black wealth, you can have white wealth, you can have black poverty, white poverty, you can have all these things. But when you broke that up, you had to have a sustaining community that broke down in sectors as well. There was black wealth, there was white wealth, there was white poverty, there was black poverty, and it was a divided line. But you still had the people who lost from the integration, is what I'm saying. It wasn't a small factor. It just got absorbed by integration. And if you could not sustain, that was it. You were out. There's you have to look into it. There's so many cities and towns and states that, like, you have a whole city of a couple thousand people that, did you just leave? Is he sad?
Taking my ball and going home.
I think his internet dropped. Maybe
Something.
he paused. He froze. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the politically positively disagreeable podcast. This is Earth. This is Earth on drugs. Any
Aliens,
questions?
dog. Aliens.
Ancient aliens.
Ancient
I'm
aliens.
your host, Black Adam. No, hey, you see that? Marvel, Black Adam.
That's
You get it?
nice.
No. Nice. Oh man, it's good stuff. Come on back, Adam. Where you at? Close it out. Hey, daughter.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hold on. I'm in a show.
All right, here he comes. Here he comes.
Hello.
What's going on? Oh, yeah, it looked like
All
your
right.
laptop probably died.
Yeah,
But yeah,
well, it went out of Zoom
I
for some
I
reason.
have
Look,
a young lady that's ready to go on her journey today.
I don't know what
My
that
new
means.
my 16-year-old.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay.
Dad and
I
daughter
can try
time.
to make this quick, but if I like, there's no way I'm not responding to like the 15 minutes of shit that just happened.
No,
Like,
no, too late.
Well,
Goodbye.
I closed us out by saying this is Earth. This is Earth on drugs. Any questions?
yeah. Look. Yeah. Is it possible that there were communities that were doing well during segregation? I mean, of course, that's possible. I'm not honestly particularly aware of them, but that certainly doesn't mean that they didn't exist. But
Black Wall Street.
I still think, I mean, like, you can go throughout any point in history and find groups, even groups of minority, that were prospering during that time period. That doesn't mean that 50 years ago as a whole things were better for minorities than they are right now. And this is something
Depends on the
that
perspective.
really gets, of course it does, of course everything always depends on a perspective, and to say that because in one person's perspective things were okay, then that means that like they were better off as a whole. I mean, that's
That's
crazy.
literally
And
what it
this,
is. That's literally what it is.
but you can't, we
You
can't
understand?
sit back and decide about what to do with an entire society because one segment of it happens to be doing well. I mean, that's what about all the ones that weren't doing well? The massive amounts of people that weren't doing well. We just forget about them because some people were doing
Nino
okay.
Brown once said that's the American way. No,
Yeah,
that's
Exactly.
but it's not. That's
literally what it is. Like,
Okay,
you
but
know
you
what?
also realize that
if
there's
that
been
were the American way, then we wouldn't be going out of our way to try to make it better when in your mind there were already groups that were just doing fine. Let's just leave it as is. I mean, if that were the
okay.
American way,
No, they
that we
weren't
just
doing
leave
fine.
everybody behind and
They
not give a
what
shit,
the
then why do we continue to try
American
to
way
do better?
was is that's not the American way. What was is that there were people that were put out into a country after slavery, which you get prison imprisonment, which was the 13th Amendment, the new slavery, and in spite of, they flourished. That's the thing.
Oh,
Based on the perspective of the people for generations, people.
right. Why is that even
That's where you have
surprising?
to
A
look at
group of
the
people
history
that
on
were
that.
removed from slavery shortly afterwards did significantly better. I mean, is that not what we would have expected?
In spite of things like the 13th Amendment, imprisonment.
Right. Because as
You have to
fucked up
look
as
at
those things were,
because slavery ended. Right. You have
but
people like, for example, when slavery ended, someone like me or Victor, you have people to where we were walking and we didn't meet certain standards. I could be thrown in prison.
right. So
The comedy
those
of it
aren't,
is like the movie. Most of those
that's
people,
not a legitimate argument though. What you're saying is that because things were still bad, which is the argument that I've been trying to make the entire time,
Mhm.
that they weren't better. Because as horrible as those things are, and they are, and as fucked up as it
Right.
was that it was that way, and it is, it's still better than slavery, right? That and so even when something
Well,
moves
we're not. It's not
into a
slavery. We're just
really
talking 50
fucked
years
up
ago.
situation, right? But it's my point. You guys have been focusing on 50 years. I'm saying throughout history, it doesn't matter. If you look at now and then 50 years prior to that time period, in any time period, it's better 50 years later most of the time. And even when you're
For
talking
who?
about
Yeah.
for
No,
everybody, because
poverty rate. The poverty rate has not made a significant change in the last 50 years.
yeah, poverty
Here's
is
another
not
perspective.
the amount
Who
of
is
people
cancel
that
culture
can
better for?
be rich and the amount of people who can't be rich doesn't change as racial things change, right? Because there are
Unless you
still
were in a
always,
communist society,
which fails miserably, right? We know that. So we could do that, but that doesn't
yeah.
work either.
When you run up on them and pew 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 and take over,
No,
of course.
that's not we had very little impact on the failure of communist Russia. That was all on them.
We've had very little impact on everything. Only thing we've done is put our military bases on
well, you're
piece of
saying you keep
land, and no
jumping
one
back
can
and
have a
forth.
military
Like
base in
when
America.
you want to suggest that communism is great, and I say it wasn't, it's because it was us. And when I say it wasn't because of us, you say it's because we don't have any control over anything. Well, which is it? Is it that we're running
Honestly, you want to know?
everything and making it bad, or is it that we have no control over it, and thus what happens has nothing to do with what the government does? I mean, it can't be both.
To be positively disagreeable, Adam. To be
Yeah,
positively disagreeable. It's all the perspective. It's the perspective, which perspective
of course it is.
is an opinion based on your view. I'm your
Yes,
host,
but then
Black
there,
Adam. This is Adam, and that's Victor Adam. And no,
of course it comes down to a point of view, but there are also, and I think this is something that we've gotten away from, not us as a society, that there is factual information, and you can't have an opinion on facts. Facts are facts, right? You can have an opinion on what those
right,
facts mean, but we've gotten to the point
right.
where we can't even settle on the fact that the fact is a fact, right? And so I don't disagree with you at all on almost every point that you made, other than any of those things changing the fact that we've continued to grow in a very imperfect place, right? Because we're human beings, and growth is very slow. It always is. And the reason why, and I've been trying to say this several times and then we get off on something else, the reason why this is something that gets me positively disagreeable is because it's a really easy way to give up on what a lot of people prior to us have worked really hard to achieve and have made lots of monumental accomplishments in doing. And then we just very easily look at like, well, things aren't where we want them to be, so let's just act like nothing's ever happened and we haven't made any progress at all. But we have, and people worked really fucking hard to get us to where we are now, which is significantly better off than where we are, which is going to make the change that we need to fight to make happen even easier than it was 50 years ago to make that change happen. And I think if you talk to the people 50 years ago who were fighting to make the changes and had a conversation
Right.
with them about how we haven't come anywhere, they'd be pretty fucking offended by that. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones who made it
Well,
happen.
I do. I talk to my mom and my dad often. They actually, my dad is almost 80. I think my mom's what, like 70s.
Yeah.
So I talk to them. You know, they lived through a time that I'll never get to know. You know, but like I said, it's always going to end up better for who. And yeah, there were people who worked hard 50 years ago, like there were people who worked harder 50 years prior. Like
Right.
50 years from now, you're gonna see the people who worked hard today. But the thing is that it is not necessarily going to be a unison better. It's always going to be better for than.
There are always going to be people that are better off than other people. That is absolutely true. And until we make a massive difference in how our brains work, unfortunately, that's going to be what what it's been pretty well accepted, is that the reason it's going to be that way is because when we do just make everything even for everybody, right? And don't make you have to go out and earn something better than everybody else, we don't do very well as a
Communism.
society. Right. Communism. And the truth is it failed from the inside. Like people took advantage of it. People were lazy as fuck and didn't work to try to become better. It failed miserably. It was not successful. And there has to be, and maybe we're wrong and we just haven't figured out the other scenario yet. And I'm open to that. I hope that's true, because it is a little shitty that in order for us to continue on as a whole society, there has to be people that get to earn more than other people do. I mean, and you know, on a very human level, that sucks, right? But maybe there's another option out there that we haven't figured out yet that's going to be better. I'm happy to be part of the people trying to participate in figuring out what that is, right? But what we know it isn't so far is that everybody just gets what they need and doesn't have to worry about earning it, because that doesn't bode well for, you know, the growth of society. I hate the fact that that's the way it is. You know, I'm not a extremely rich, successful person. I recognize the fact that I have a lot more than the majority of people do, right? But I still have to work hard for it, and I still have to struggle. So it's not like I'm sitting on top of a hilltop saying, like, I get that some people don't get everything, but I just happen to be one of the ones who does, right? Like, I'm somebody who doesn't get everything, and I recognize that I'm part of a system that, you know, there has to be people like me in order for the system to work. And some days that's really hard to deal with, but you know, like, we don't all get everything, you know, like, some of us are born into some really fucked up shit, and all we can do every day is try to look at where those really fucked up situations are and try to make them better, right? I mean, what else is there?
I just think it's more of like a constant fight to hold your ground, more than a constant
overthrow.
fight to make things super better. I mean, it's just like that. What is it? The first teen Nobel laureate that talked at the inauguration, that did the poem at the inauguration this year. There, I think something like a week later or 2 weeks later, she was followed home by a security
It was
guard.
like 3 days ago. Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. She was like followed home and harassed because of the way she looked.
Right. Well, to be fair to the story, and I'm not saying she was, she probably was, right? But so far, all they basically said is that she called and said that she was racially profiled by a security guard in the place that she lives.
Sure,
Probably true, but I'm saying it's probably true, but we did there what we often do, which is assume that it's probably what it is before we know for sure what it is. And again, I mean, based on the situation, that probably is what it is. I mean, unfortunately, in this time period, it's not ridiculous to think that that's probably exactly what happened to her, unfortunately, right? Wouldn't probably not be the worst idea to actually find out if it is before we go completely crazy about it, but it probably was. But that's, I mean, this is the way it's always been. It's always been change comes with people fighting tooth and nail for very, very small amounts of it, right? And anytime there's been any real change, that's how it's happened. And anytime, it's what pisses me off about millennials today, because like, it's like they just are like, oh, the fact that you guys haven't fixed all this shit just shows how fucked up y'all are, and we're just gonna do it. Just like, you know, and like next year, the year after that, it's just gonna all be better. Like, I hate to break it to you. I mean, God love you if you somehow do that, despite the fact that no human beings in the history of the world ever have. Okay. But if you do, I'll bow down to your fucking excellence when it happens. Okay. But more than likely, what you're going to find is what all the rest of the people that realize that the world is not the way it should be and want to change it have realized, is that in order to actually change any of it, you actually have to do a lot of really hard work for a really long time to get small amounts of change. And that's the only way it's ever going to happen. And that's the way it's always happened. I mean, there is, except for very rare circumstances in history where, because of something else going on, major changes happen very quickly. It comes in agonizing pain and struggle. That's how it always happened. And the fact that we can't stop that from happening doesn't make things worse today than before. It makes it exactly the way it's always been.
And that's what I'm saying, is that it's not much better. It's just the way it's always been.
No, but
we're fighting to stay
that's two different things. I'm talking about the way progress is made hasn't changed. You're saying there has been no progress made. Those aren't the same things. Dot, I know you got to go, brother. Go ahead. Do you think?
It's progress made, but it just depends on who the progress is for. And I understand that the progress in its nature typically should be for the good of all. The progress should be for, betterment, things like that. But the reality of it is that the progress is typically for the ones that are in power, the people who can make those decisions, the people who benefit from it, who will benefit from it more. It's never been, hey, let's make progress to help the people who are literally being in prison. Let's make progress to do the exact opposite of what we did to found the country.
But there has been progress.
Let's address that issue.
Like the fact that rich people have gotten richer doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are struggling aren't struggling less. And the fact that people
Right.
that are struggling are still struggling doesn't mean that they're not struggling less either. I mean, it's really easy to just say, look, things are still really shitty for me, so they must not be any better than they were 50 years ago. Things can still be shitty for somebody and be better than they were 50 years ago. Those things aren't one or the other.
Exactly. So like the girl who got racially profiled during a time when it should be better. Well, that could be the case, but let's gather more evidence. That
No, but that's
shouldn't
fine.
be just in her real life and in her real experience. It was what it was, reality to her, whether it was today or 50 years ago.
Right, but
The difference in 50
if
years
50
ago
years ago
that
instead
she
of
could have been beat. The difference, what made it better now,
right? Arrested and beaten, and
arrested
that's not
or beat, just because.
right. So the fact that
You
she
look the way
only
just
is
because you were
calling
born
to say
in the
that
skin
she
of your
got racially profiled because a security guard followed her home is not better than the fact that she got, stopped, asked questions, arrested, and all these other things because the cop knew he could get away with it. If that's not,
right,
I mean, how's
because
that
that was America. 50
years ago?
That was this country where
But it wasn't even just 50
less
years
than
ago. What
50.
about that guy that?
Yeah, right. Then I know, but we're just using the number 50. It wasn't technically. It was
right.
a lot
Again,
less than 50. But
I don't care about 50
what I'm
years
saying
either.
is that we're just using that number 50 as a marker. No problem.
I get that, and I understand
what,
that.
What we're saying is that it's a shame that it has actually existed here. That it's like, oh well, it is better because it could have been worse, like it was 50 years ago. She could have been beaten, killed, dragged, raped,
right.
beaten,
But all I've been
and killed.
arguing is that
All three.
All I've been arguing is that their
because
progress.
that was the norm.
Right.
What I'm saying
which is
that,
progress.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, and let's not get caught up on the 50 years, but that there was like, what was that? I think it was like 10 years ago where that one guy got shot by the security guard in his apartment.
Right. Right. Yeah. And there was the Floyd. God, I just really I feel like an idiot not knowing his last name. It's just blanking on me. I mean, that was over the summer, right? He died over the summer, right? Again, you can't. George Floyd. Thank you. God, thank you. You can't, as I'm saying, what you're doing is pointing to bad things and saying, look, these bad things have happened. So obviously things are just as bad as they were 50 years ago. That's bad. Like, in case I haven't said it 500 times in this argument, bad things still are happening all the time.
Right.
And we still need to make things way better than they are today. We still need to do that.
We do need to. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
And my argument is that there has been at least a small group of people always trying to do that and making progress, which is why the three of us can even be doing this right now, when in not too far back, we wouldn't be able to, right?
Well,
not all three of us.
Technology and finances and things of that nature.
Also because like, not, depending on how far back we want to go, you wouldn't be on our podcast. You know what I mean? Like, Victor might not be on our podcast.
Yeah, because if podcasts exist, well,
television existed back then, right? Yes,
television existed.
Right? Exactly.
So you look at television back then. So we control the content. Break down the word television. One vision, one sight of mind. Programming. Television programming. One side of mind of program. I control the station. I control the narrative. I control what's said. I control the content. That's all it was. This is just a new form of that. So it's
but again, I mean, there's been
the podcast,
massive amounts of progress in that.
Technically,
right? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you understand that, like, for there to be a fight, there's two sides that are fighting.
To every coin.
You know what I'm saying? Every progress that we've made in different areas, the other side has made progress in another area.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So what?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's saying that
that continuous fight, it ends up keeping us really, really stagnant. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're fighting to keep
Very
to
true.
hold on to the ground that we have.
Which is significantly more ground than before, is my only point. Like, again, you keep saying things as if these are things I've never thought of or considered because of an argument that
Exactly.
isn't
Exactly.
about what you're saying, right? Which is started off with things don't ever change and they're just the way they were before. And I think that if you had to talk to people like us 50 years ago that were in the same station they are in life 50 years ago that we are, and could look at our life now, and you have to argue with them that our life isn't better than theirs. I mean, I'd love to see that argument. I'd love to see them tell you all the reasons why it is,
Oh, there are
and
people.
you explain to them how they're just
There are people
wrong and
that
that
can
their
argue
harder
it.
life isn't real. I mean, what? That's crazy.
Well, there's also plenty
There are
of
people
people
that
that
can
we talk
argue
to
it
that are
based on
old.
their position.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that I've talked to that are older people that say, "Hey, honey, they're just better at hiding it now. Things haven't really changed. They're just better at hiding it now."
You're saying the way people's mind works hasn't changed. We just don't have any proof that it has because they're hiding it.
Well, no, it's
No,
exactly like
not the way people's mind work. That's different. The way people's mind work constantly, your mind changed to
So then what are we
different from
talking
today
about?
than
Then what are we talking about?
you blend it in two.
What are they
We're
hiding?
talking about we're talking about what goes on. I think we're talking about this and we're fusing them into one conversation. You're talking about a mindset, the way someone's mind works. You're talking
Well,
about
that's what
living
he's talking
conditions
about.
and in the atmosphere of the
I'm
country
talking
laws
about,
and the things that were
I'm not,
going
yeah.
on at the time. Right. So what is the fight that we're discussing as far as what is specifically better now than 50 years ago? Because when you just say things, it goes back to many people have said, oh,
Right.
the Donald Trump many people. You have to define what is specifically better.
Right. Life
That's the thing. Because
for
when you
minorities in
when you
our
say
country are better now than they were 50 years ago. That's what I'm saying.
how,
As their ability to, go, have real opportunities, to get real jobs, to make real money, to live in the way they want to live, to have biracial relationships and biracial children, to make more money, to leave money for their children after they pass.
okay,
To be able to
I
do
got that.
things that they were
Hold on.
never able to
I
do
got that.
before that they can
I
now
got that.
do, and the amount
Hold
of
on. I got
opportunities
that.
that they have to do those things. I mean, I
I
keep going.
got
Okay.
that. I got that. Now, that's why I say it's the perspective. That's what you view is better for them now. But how do you say that to whole communities of people as those minorities that were actually flourishing, that had better jobs, that had better communities, that had better relationships with the people around them that look like them? It was okay for the people that were
I would say
outside
the
of those
same thing I've
communities
been saying to
that
you the whole time.
so okay, so in white communities, let's just say we're looking at minority communities versus white communities. So I don't know if it's
Okay.
minority majority, but what you're looking at is, okay, it's better now for minority communities, right?
Not just minority
The
communities, but it is
other
better for minority
communities,
communities. Huh?
right?
They're better for them too.
Right. Not okay. So that's my point. It's the perspective of it, because you have people who can tell you their family has had land, a black owned, it was a business. Their family had
Yeah,
this and they had
I
that.
know, because you've
Multiple.
said this before. I don't. Yes, there
So
are
what I'm
people
saying
that
is
are
that the
minorities
perspective is
that,
that it's better. People get the shit into the stick sometimes.
sure, they do. That doesn't
But
change
this
the point I'm trying to make, though. You're
What I
not wrong, and I'm not disagreeing with you. There are people who, even people who are minorities, that aren't doing as well now as they were 50 years ago. When I'm having these conversations, I am trying to look at it as the big picture and not from, because
right,
I don't know how
right.
you do that. I don't know how you fix everything for every person all the time. I don't know that there is a way to do that.
Yeah.
But what you can do
You can.
is look at
So
the
a
big picture and try to
universal
big
system won't
picture
work.
make things as better. Well, I'm not talking about a universal system. I'm talking about
I'm
looking
just
at.
fucking with you. We're going in
Oh yeah,
the proverbial
yeah,
circle. That's what we're doing. We're going in the proverbial
yeah. I
circle.
got you. Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
the earth.
No, look. I
This is
mean,
the earth on drugs.
I think
I get you, bro.
unfortunately, when you're trying to make a whole society better, things do fall through the cracks, and it sucks. But I don't know that there's a way to fix that. You know what I mean? Like you have to look for the betterment of everybody, even when sometimes it's at the detriment of other people, and that sucks. But like the only alternative is not trying to make it better for everybody, and I don't know that that's an option. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's not what, and that's not what I'm trying to say.
here's a
I'm not
simple.
saying that there's no reason to fight. I'm saying that
Go ahead.
the
Bro.
idea that we are fighting, that's great. No, I mean, that's a great thing that we're fighting, but I just don't think we're actually making as much ground as you believe. I don't think
But
that
you,
everyone
but that's
has
the thing.
better
I've never said. I've never even told you how much ground we've made. The
Well, just
only
what you
thing
said.
I've said is
What
that
you
it's
said right
better now than it was 50 years ago, and
Well,
you've not said one
It's
thing
better
to
now than it
suggest
was 50
otherwise.
years ago.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
What?
So
What?
let me
Name
give
the
you
thing
this.
that's not. Name the thing that's significantly worse now than it was 50 years ago.
Not significantly worse, but significantly the same. People in impoverished neighborhoods do
You
not
have to
have the
literally uproot.
opportunity that you were talking about that everyone else has.
What opportunities have I talked? All I've said is that they're better than they were 50 years ago. I haven't
You
given
named
any
like
specifics.
5 of them. You named like 5 of them.
So you're saying, okay. So you're just saying
better
you're
better
saying
jobs, better this and better
right.
yeah.
So you're saying that there's
And
been no
right.
progress in any of those things, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that impoverished neighborhoods are still have the same low,
I'm coming, daughter.
the
So you
same
know,
low percentage.
that's not what we're saying. Like you keep doing that. You keep changing it to
So,
something
all right,
different
Victor,
than what I said to make your point.
No, okay.
That's
Victor,
easy to do.
Adam, here's I can see both your perspectives. Right, the glasses on. Look, if you take some time and you go talk to these people who live 50, and we're using the number 50 as a marker, you can talk to people in these small towns in Georgia, South Carolina, big cities, even West Virginia, North Carolina, in these places that were impacted tremendously. I'm not talking about a lot of the stuff like out west. I'm talking like a lot of because even out west it was pretty bad. But I'm talking about the core of these original 13 colonies, the core of what founded America. The system was designed so fucked up that you have to make these small progressions to make it better. What it needs to just be uprooted completely and just redone. But how can you do that to a country that was founded on some fucked up shit?
Yep.
Here's the thing: you can't do that ever.
That is the core of the problem.
It's not a problem. It's life, brother. Like that's just the way it is.
It's not, but it's not life because you have existing countries, you have existing places that are fine. The problem is that because we have to change it is an admittance to that it was founded and created and sustained on some fucked up shit, man.
But nobody's arguing that. Like I hate when this happens. I hate when I'm trying to make a specific point and people try to say I'm wrong because my point is trying to suggest that there's not a problem.
Adam.
I'm not saying there's not a problem.
You are correct. What is said is that you are correct. You are not wrong, Adam. You are correct. The base of it is that is based on the position and perspective of who you talk to that it's better for. That's all. Taking what you're saying and adding to it to clarify, to specify what that means. Better for who?
Sure.
You see?
But when I say better
you can
for
get
who,
different answers in that.
Just
and that's
better
cool.
for the majority is my answer. And I think that the numbers back that up. And I think Victor, if you're trying to say that minorities don't have a better chance at getting jobs than they did 50 years ago, like look at do some research. Because I gotta say that's crazy.
I'm exactly looking at numbers. I'm telling you that the impoverished people have not changed over the last 50
What
years.
number
If
are
it
you
gotten
looking
better,
at that says
there would be a less?
what's the
there would be
number? I
less.
want to understand the number that you've decided says that's not true, because I really have a hard
Okay,
time believing. What number are you looking
Adam,
at?
1970, the poverty rate has ranged from 15% to, I think at its lowest might be 11.5%.
Okay.
And it's wobbled into in and there. Before the
Okay.
1965, it dropped from a little under 23%,
So
or
the
no, a
amount
little
of
over
poor
23%.
people. You're saying
like-
so when you
So
take
what-
that
what
number
is
in a
that?
factor,
So
that
you're
range
saying
from 11 to 15, look at the
there's more
amount
people,
of more
poor
people that's
than there
here.
were.
Right. So that number
Which is
actually is
not-
more
doesn't-
impactful.
It,
That
do- it
number's
doesn't
more
disagree with what I'm saying
because-
at all.
If there was more
We're
opportunity, then the number would go down.
You're no,
Right.
because what we're saying is
But
the
there's
chances
so many
of
more people
minority
that
people
number
having an
sustains.
opportunity, and you're saying because the amount of poor people, period, is larger, then minorities don't have a better chance at getting successful
I'll give-
jobs,
I'll
and
give it
making
to
money,
you.
and leaving money
Minorities
for their
make up
families.
more
To
percentage
touch
of the
on what-
poverty rate than any other. Well, then
That's a huge jump, dude. You're saying that
That's why. So
that by
okay,
looking at a number
hold
that
on.
says
Time
how
out.
many poor people there are, without looking at any numbers at who's poor and how where it's changed by different groups or any of that stuff, but
Well,
just
you
because
can't
there's more
default. You
poor
can't
people than there
default
were
to
before,
statistics
then
in
that
one place and
must
not apply it
mean
to across.
that minorities
That's the
don't
thing,
have
bro.
any more opportunities than they had 50 years ago. And I think that's a huge leap to make based on that number.
That's
you
not-
told
that's
me
not-
the
okay,
numbers.
so-
you said you
so-
want to hear the numbers. Those were the numbers.
Hold on.
But not the numbers of the
So
stuff I'm
when you look
talking
at-
about. Like I
To
could
touch on
find
what
some
Victor's
numbers
saying,
that don't have anything to do with what I'm saying that are better numbers, but if
Right,
they're not what I'm
exactly
talking
what I
about,
said.
why does it matter?
So to
Like
touch
the numbers.
on what Victor's to
Because they're numbers, okay. Michael
No,
Jordan,
not because
they're
scored
numbers.
more
Just
points.
find
What
the
the fuck
numbers.
does that?
Find the numbers. Find
You
your
had
numbers.
jobs
then.
like trade jobs. You had
Or-
trade jobs.
Or you actually
like
find some
places
real
like your
numbers.
Detroit.
I can't find numbers.
Fine.
You
Okay.
guys, look. So check it out. Check it out. You
got
have things like
got
trade
that second
jobs.
part, the
Trade
disagreeable
jobs,
part.
You have skill set based jobs. Now jobs are more so you have different types of jobs now than you did back then. Right? You have more people learning trades, going to trades.
Right.
schools,
You
learning
see more
trade
minority
jobs.
people,
Those things are
not nearly
important. They
enough.
still are important.
More minority people in every major like institution. Like there's more minority actors. There's more minority people in sports. There's more minority people in major major businesses.
Because
there's more
does
CEOs
not
than there
mean
used
it's
to be, and
better.
all these things.
Because you got to realize one
Why
thing.
not?
Okay, so let me put it to you like this, right?
You have a
It's the only-
option to do things you've never had.
I'll give you an
options to
example.
do
I'll give you an
before.
example.
How
I'll
is
give
that
you
not
an
better?
example, right?
Okay.
I'll give you an example. I'm not a minority, and I run a company, and I've hired 15 minorities. I'm going to say I'm better for the minority community because I hired 15 minorities to run my company.
Okay.
This money does not go to, they make money for my company. I'm paying them a wage to live, but I'm profiting because this is my company. You can look at all these other companies out here. I am major, but I hire minorities. So I'm better for the minority community.
Okay.
That's my perspective on it. But in the grand scheme of things, I actually make the rules and the laws that allow me to allow me to say, hey,
But
I can hold this
I would
mindset
still,
because I hired
again,
them. Be thankful. I am contributing, but I am not a
again,
minority.
the argument that you're making is that things aren't the way they should be, not that things aren't better. And those
Let
are
me give
two
these minorities
different
companies
arguments.
alongside.
If you're giving minorities opportunities that they've never had before, and you're just talking about one company, but on a grander scale than they've ever had before, and yet they're not necessarily the ones running the company and other things like that, that would be a sign that things are not the way that they should be, not a sign that progress
let's bring it into
hasn't
what it
been
should
made,
be, right?
which is the only argument I've been making this whole time.
That's fine. So let's really bring it into the progress point, right? One, bring it into a progress point, being able to identify and understand that someone is a minority before a person, and to be able to look at something being better for that person as being a minority, the mindset is the understanding that is placed, that is put into this very system of fucked upness.
But yeah,
The system is not
again,
made better as a
I don't
person
disagree with you,
versus being
and
a minority. But understand, things
I
are better
don't. Yeah,
for
but here's the
minorities.
thing. I mean, you're
Minorities are
telling me to
still
understand
people.
things that I understand.
No,
I
listen,
know these
minorities are
things to be
still
true. I don't
people,
need somebody to tell
that
me
they're
they are.
just these type of people, and things are better for these type of people that are minorities. Let's take the minority
And
off and
not
say,
just
are things
minorities. I
better for
mean,
these?
that's what. If you look,
Yeah, but then you
the
look into
original
what is
point
a
I was trying to
minority.
make 100 fucking years ago was that if you look at statistics for any of the major things that we look at what considers good living, right? Like how long do you live, how healthy people are, how able they are to like live a productive life and a happy life, and you look at all those things, and I've done this before. Statistically, over time, those numbers go up. All you look at 100 year to 100 year to 100 year to
class
100
and
year,
accessibility
we
to
all the
things
live
to
numbers
preserve your
except for
longer,
life.
poverty.
we have more money, we live more comfortably, which is
What
the
was it
original
at,
point I
Victor?
was trying to make.
All the numbers except for poverty.
That's the
Okay.
point.
But
Right
again,
there.
like again, you do
Poverty
this over and
keeps
over
a
again. Let me tell you
certain
one thing
people
that's
in a
wrong,
threshold. They
and that's
keep
a proof of no progress whatsoever. The fact that things aren't perfect is the proof of no progress. That's the argument you're making. I found one
no.
thing that's not
It's not the
perfect.
things of being.
So
It's
you're
not the
right.
things of
So
not
there
being
must not
perfect.
have been any
Progress.
progress.
The
But that's the
face of
argument
that
that we're
progress,
making.
the face of that poverty threshold still remains the same face. It doesn't change. I think that needs to be the better argument, that you still have a poverty level. We'll agree that there's going to be a poverty level, but it's not a
Okay.
fair system to where the face of that poverty doesn't change.
It does change though. That's the thing. There's a difference between where it is right now being nowhere near where it should be and it not being any better than it was before. And I haven't seen you make a single argument or shown anything that suggests otherwise.
How can you not say that's not an argument? How can you not say it's not an argument that the poverty rate has not changed in the last 50 years? How is that not an argument for things not getting better?
Because for the same thing I've been shouting over and over and over again is because if it's the only thing you're saying, you're talking about one thing not changing and saying nothing's changed because that one thing hasn't changed.
That is one thing. You said I haven't
No.
given you one argument. I gave you an argument.
And he gave you numbers in logistics.
And numbers and logistics.
It just doesn't go. It
Okay,
didn't go.
I
It didn't go in
apologize. You've given
agreement
me
with
one crappy
your
argument
point.
as to why things haven't changed.
The
Why is
word
it
crappy
crappy?
stems to
Because it's one thing.
perspective
Goddamn, how many times do I have to say the
and
same
an
fucking thing
opinion.
over and over again?
No, you
because it's
said
one
one
fucking
crappy
thing
thing
out of
So there's
hundreds
one
of fucking
crappy
things.
thing, but it's still one
Yeah,
thing.
focus on that. Focus on that
thing.
and don't focus
I
on the
think it's
fact that your
one
argument
good
sucks,
argument.
right?
Okay, daughter.
Focus
Hey,
on the
yo,
fact that you said one thing and not the fact that the one thing you said doesn't
gentlemen,
fucking factor in.
Gentlemen, I have my
That's
beautiful
perfect.
daughter, and we got
Poverty doesn't
hey, you want to come and
factor
say
in?
hello to everybody? Okay. Hey, you guys,
Dude,
I
like,
have to sign out
did
for the
somebody
day.
teach you a book on how to say hot topic things that don't apply to what we're talking about? I'll
You know what
later.
doesn't apply? This is Earth. This is Earth on. Any questions? Thank y'all for coming out, gentlemen. God bless and good night.
All right, man. We'll see you next week, brother. Have a good one. Man, we're gonna have to wrap this up. It's going really, really late. I'm just saying, cool. I don't. And the reason it really pisses me off is because the suggestion is because I'm saying what I'm saying that I don't recognize that there's still a lot of people in poverty. Of course I do, or that I don't recognize that things.
Much progress. I just don't.
In that, but again, you're talking. I don't care if there's been progress. Like, I don't need there. Of course, okay, that's gonna sound. I obviously want there to be progress in the amount of people in poverty. Okay, but I don't need there to be progress in the amount of impoverished people in order to prove the fact that things have gotten better over 50 years, which is the only argument I've made this entire time, is that things are not the same as they were 50 years ago, that we've made progress in the last 50 years. And to say that there are still, that there hasn't been progress in one category of things is not a proof of argument. Of course it matters. It's not what I'm saying. Like, nobody's arguing that it doesn't matter, that there's a lot of power.
Okay, wait. Now go ahead and list some of the things that you're talking about that have improved. Just list some of the things you said that have improved.
Health, life expectancy, comfort of living.
Okay, all of those things are less for people in poverty.
Yes, and yet they can still be better 50 years later for people in poverty than they were 50 years ago for people that are in poverty. And that would still be progress, which is the only point I've tried to make.
I will agree with that, with the fact that it is of a lesser amount for the people in poverty.
Sure. All I've ever been trying,
that's kind of
like,
what,
I mean, I haven't even talked about how much progress. My only point is to say that that throughout time, we're not making progress and things are the same as they are. And again, we're talking about 50 years ago. If you go back further, it's much more significant, the difference in those numbers, right?
I can agree with that. Because
that's all I'm saying, is we do make progress. And I think it's dangerous to suggest that we don't, because what it does is it can make a generation of people feel like they have little to no effect over these things. And they do, not as much as we'd like to have, right? We'd all like to wake up tomorrow and dedicate our lives and in the next 5 years make some massive fucking change in something really important. And that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
And my fear is more people thinking that the fight is over.
But I don't think the type of people that are the ones making the change don't think that. Like, the people that think that are people that were never going to do anything about it in the first place, which is most people. Most people wake up every day and put all the energy they have into getting through their day, right? And we got to just leave those people alone and let them do what it is that they need to do every day, because they ain't got time for anything else. And I get that. And I've been in those positions before, and that's hard enough to accomplish. And then there's some of us that do have either more energy or more time on our hands or whatever. And those are the people that need to realize real change needs to happen and try to do what they can, whatever that is. For me, it's start a podcast that teaches people we need to be having these conversations in the first place. Otherwise, we don't even know what it is we're trying to change. We need to focus on those people. And I don't think any of those people are thinking there's nothing left to do. I really don't. I mean, I really don't. I mean,
I just think that it is still so crappy, because I mean, like right now they're trying to pass different laws to make it harder for minorities
to vote, which is totally fucked up. Absolutely.
Gerrymandering in different states.
And yet, what I would argue that despite all of that, Donald Trump didn't get reelected, and by decent number, not as big as it should have been by any stretch. But he didn't get reelected.
Close, honestly, I mean, it was further apart as far as electoral votes, but as far as popular vote, it was pretty freaking close.
It was millions apart. It was not nearly as close as the last election was.
Out of billions of people.
Well, billions of people don't vote. Okay, so there's that. I mean, first of all, it's like 300 million people in the United States. Not even close. It's like 25%, 30% actually go out and vote of that number. So now you're talking about 100 million, and now you're talking about, I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 million apart. So that's like, I don't know, 2.5%. And you're right, it's not a lot. It's not as much as it should have been, but it's a much bigger margin than he won by. And sadly, like a lot of minorities voted for him in mass numbers this time, which is sad, because he's the head of the party that's doing.
They broke the number in the amount of people that voted for Biden, but the second number is the number of people that voted for Trump this year. Last year.
Yeah. Well, that's the other. I mean, more people voted than, I think it was one of the the highest attendance of voting in history. I mean, it was a lot of people went out and voted. Yeah, I mean, it's scary. And I think, a lot of people don't,
I
A lot
think
of
it's
people
dangerous to think the fight is over or the fight is even
Nobody's
close.
saying that though. Nobody's
Well,
saying that. I don't.
I'm not saying
There's
that's
a
what you're
difference.
saying. I'm saying that that's a dangerous thought.
I agree. It definitely is. I to ever think it's over. Like 1,000 years from now, things are going to be way better than they are today. They're not going to be the way they should be. And I mean, we're human beings. Like I think there's going to be things that we can't imagine will ever fix that we will fix over long periods of time. But that will ever make things perfect. Well, we're human beings. We're never going to make it perfect. It's always going to be a struggle. We're always going to be fighting to make it better than it is. So for anybody to ever think that anything that we accomplish means that the fight's over, that's it. I mean, that's always dangerous. It's always dangerous. But at the same time, if you start to think that there's no reason to fight, I mean, that's just as dangerous.
Oh yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's somebody on the other side punching.
No, and I know you weren't. I know. I mean, just like I wasn't saying I mean, I don't think that's what you're saying. I think unfortunately, some people hear things. Some people hear things of nothing's changing and nothing's getting better, and some people throw their hands up and say, "Well, then why the fuck am I even trying?" You know what I mean?
I'd say you got to fight harder.
Right. Agreed. All right, I'm getting yelled at. Somebody needs their computer back.
Yeah, I'm way over time.
Yeah, we're way over. It's been good. I appreciate it. Obviously, for the anybody who may or may not be listening, this is certainly the hottest it's ever gotten with y'all listening. Not necessarily the hottest it's ever gotten. It's the whole point of the show. We do this. There's a decent chance he'll call me an hour later and we'll argue some more about it because that's just what we do. So it can be done. You can debate and get upset and it not be the end of the world. So anyways, we're going to sign out. If there's anybody listening, we appreciate it. Come back next week. Listen for the podcast. Look us up on Facebook, Positively Disagreeable, and on
PDA.
On Twitter, PDA_podcast on Twitter. I am host of PDA at host of Twitter at host of PDA on Twitter, and Adam host at Facebook. So find us, comment, let us know, give us topics. We're running out. I'm gonna be talking to you guys during the week. I don't even think we have enough for next week. We haven't picked any yet, which we usually do today, but we went over, so we'll do that tomorrow. Send in ideas and stuff y'all guys want to hear us talk about. Comment, let us know if there's anything we can be doing better, and everybody have a great night. We're out.
Later.